Chapter 377. Sheng Amren glanced at Guan Nai and said in a deep voice, Guan Nai wants to add a scene where she slaps back after being hit. I don't think it's in line with the kind character of the heroine. Compared to Sheng Amren's obvious resistance to the addition of scenes, Guan Nai was much calmer. She looked at Director Wang calmly, and had no intention of explaining her opinion at all. She said faintly, Actually, I'm just giving a suggestion. Whether it can be changed, or how it will be filmed after it is changed, that's the director and scriptwriter's business. Director Wang glanced at Yi Huanyan and asked, What do you think? 2 A-list actresses, a senior director, and the treasure of the crew. Yi Huanyan could not afford to offend any of them. She could only smile, and kick the ball back into Director Wang's hands. You have the most experience, so we'll listen to you. Director Wang touched his chin and said thoughtfully, In fact, experience also needs to keep pace with the times. In fact, we used to pay more attention to the dramatic tension in the plot. But recently I watched a TV series and feel that it's a good way to show this point in detail. The slap that Nai Nai suggested is good. But I think the dramatic tension can't be opened with just one slap. It will only make the audience feel bored and tired. As soon as he said this, Sheng Amren was the first to agree and said, Director Wang is indeed a great director. You see this clearly. As soon as the voice fell, Director Wang continued, One slap is not enough, let's start with 10. Uft. Yi Huanyan had just taken a sip of water to calm herself down, but because of Director Wang's understatement, she was so scared that she spat out all the water. She said in disbelief, 10. Yes, Director Wang said seriously. There are too many heart-wrenching scenes in the script of Remaining Life. The audience won't be able to stand it. We have to give the audience some hope and the pleasure of venting. Since the heroine has been reborn, it's too easy to just slap her back. Let's do it more. We might as well go from venting to the audience until they laugh. Yi Huanyan stole a glance at Sheng Amren, and his face was livid. This time, it was Director Wang's fault. What did he mean by shooting yourself in the foot? Yi Huanyan felt that this phrase might be tailor-made for Sheng Amren. After the script was adjusted, the shooting started again. Yi Huanyan stared at Time's camera and pulled a long shot. Sheng Amren and Guan Nai, who had just returned to China, met on the narrow road at the entrance of the community. The two people didn't agree with each other. Sheng Amren raised his hand and slapped Guan Nai directly. His raised arm looked like a swift wind. When the camera zoomed in, Guan Nai's muscles twitched on the face. This slap looked very real. Guan Nai's eyes reddened, and she looked at Sheng Amren in disbelief. Her gaze suddenly tightened, and she slapped him. Guan Nai's clear voice came from the receiver. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Cut. Director Wang called for a stop and replayed the scene. Awesome. Yi Huanyan looked at the replayed scene with a look of surprise. During the break, Guan Nai suddenly began to squat on the ground and do all kinds of warm-ups, arm wrestling, leg stretching, and so on, which scared the crew. Yi Huanyan pulled Guan Nai and lowered his voice. Go easy on him for the next scene. That's enough. Although the two of them had been at odds for a long time, they had only filmed a small part of the scene. If something happened here, it would be terrible. Guan Nai looked at Yi Huanyan with a teasing smile. Why do you feel sorry for her? Shouldn't you hate her a lot? Have you forgotten all those things when you were in Bali? Yi Huanyan's eyes froze. What's wrong with you? She had never mentioned her identity to Guan Nai. And 5 years ago, she didn't have much interaction with Guan Nai. Guan Nai stood up, glanced at her lightly and whispered, Would you believe me if I said that I actually rely on smell to judge people? The next scene started shooting, followed by Guan Nai slapping Sheng Amren. Director Wang suddenly thought of adding 9 consecutive slaps. How gossipy the crew was depended on how many onlookers there were. Even Xiao Zhang, who usually went out to buy coffee for an hour to slack off, ran back and panted as he squeezed his way to the front of the crowd to watch. Guan Nai moved her arms and glanced at Sheng Amren contemptuously. She looked like she was going to do something big. Sheng Amren's face was pale and her voice trembled. Guan Nai, you can't do something like taking revenge, right? That's not necessarily true. While speaking, the assistant stepped forward to adjust the hidden receiver on the two people. After the adjustment, Director Wang gave an order. Action. As soon as the voice fell, a paw sound echoed violently in the air. The whole group was stunned. Sheng Amren covered his face and looked at Guan Nai in front of him in disbelief. This slap was really ruthless. Across the camera screen, Yi Huanyan trembled and her heart clenched. How much hatred did this have? Are you crazy? Sheng Amren's anger was completely acting out. Guan Nai fixed her eyes on Sheng Amren, and Sheng Amren tilted her head. Then there was another slap. While everyone took a breath of cold air, the set was silent and no one heard the slap. There were 7 slaps left in a row, which looked very fierce in the camera. Coupled with Sheng Amren's stunned expression, as Director Wang said, it was full of indescribable dramatic tension. What was not funny was that these two people seemed to be acting in a mime, and there was no sound at all. After a long while, they finally heard Guan Nai say, "Do you think I came back just to take your man?" Guan Nai's voice came from the receiver. Yi Huanyan calmed down and continued to shoot. "I want to tell you, in addition to your man, there are also everything you took from me. I will take it back from you one by one, including identity, status, and men are just one of them." The sharp lines and the tacit cooperation between the heroine and the supporting role made people dare not make a sound. They only dared to watch this scene with bated breath, as if they were already in the cinema. After the humorous and absurd 9 slaps, it was the heroine's seemingly cold but already turbulent emotions. Xiaomo. At this time, Su Nianhua's voice passed through the camera. The B group's camera zoomed in and swept over Su Nianhua's back. Cut. Director Wang's voice broke the silence of the set. Scattered applause sounded around, and it was a perfect ending. The most important thing between actors is a sense of trust. This is a kind of spirit. It looks like a slap with a lot of force, but when it hits the face, it's just a light slap. In the eyes of the audience, this slap is already quite strong. With such a high level of cooperation, this is a sense of trust. Director Wang picked up the teacup beside him and looked at the camera with gratification, praising. That was a real slap. Yi Huanyan reminded in a low voice. That also means that Sheng Amren took the slap very well. His expression was very natural, and he didn't call for a stop midway. He was very professional. After the first touch, Nainai's subsequent slaps were also very accurate. That wasn't a real slap. Yi Huanyan smiled awkwardly. Sheng Amren didn't call for a stop probably because he was stunned. Director Wang's analysis was really. Chapter 378. After the slap scene was over, it was time for the lunch break. Ling Han personally carried the thermal box to the scene, and everyone's jaws dropped in shock. He had treated the entire crew to hot pot before, but this time, he went straight to the point and asked to deliver lunch to Yi Huanyan. Under everyone's ambiguous gazes, Yi Huanyan felt as if she was sitting on pins and needles. "What are you doing here?" Ling Han opened the lunchbox and took out the food inside. There were 2 dishes and 1 soup. The soup smelled strong and he said concisely, "I'm here to deliver lunch. I have lunch here." Yi Huanyan pointed at the lunchbox in front of her and shrugged. "I don't need a busy person to deliver lunch to me. I am not busy." "Really? So did you cook all these yourself?" Yi Huanyan glanced at him, took her lunchbox, and unwrapped the rubber band that was tied to it. "What's the difference between your nanny's cooking and the lunchbox ordered by the crew?" Ling Han's hand that was holding the soup paused slightly, and he looked resentful. "Then I will cook for you when I get back." Yi Huanyan felt that she was choked by the food. She quickly waved her hand and said, "You really don't have to trouble yourself. President Ling, I'm very busy here. When you came, my producer was trembling with fear. He was afraid of offending the investors. He even had to send several people to serve you tea and water. It's really not good to delay my progress. You can't drive me away with this kind of reason." Ling Han looked at her. "Yen Yen, no matter what you are angry about, I can take it, but I will not leave. Is the Yen Yen you are talking about Gu Huanyan or Yi Huanyan?" Yi Huanyan put down the lunchbox and looked at him seriously. "It is you. Who am I?" Ling Han didn't say anything, but his affectionate expression that carried a bit of pain and sorrow had already explained everything. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and felt very tired. How about this? Before you find evidence to prove that I am the person you are talking about, let's go our separate ways. Calm down, okay? But you are her. Look at me from head to toe. Which part of me looks like her? How can you bring back a dead person? His attitude was too cruel. After he said those words, Yi Huanyan noticed the sadness in his eyes and regretted it. After a long silence, Ling Han finally found his voice. Will you admit it, and give us a chance to start over if I find evidence to prove that you are her? Yi Huanyan lowered her head and did not answer. If you don't say anything, I will take it as a yes. Ling Han stood up with a determined look in his eyes. All right, as you wish. Let's part ways temporarily. But it's not to calm down. I've been calm for long enough. For 5 years, I've been trying to calm myself down. I don't care if you really want evidence, or if you just want me to leave your side temporarily. I'll look for it and find the original you and us. Yi Huanyan looked at his back and secretly clenched her fists. Most of the time, we don't mean what we say. Most of the time, we just can't get over the hurdle in our hearts. During the filming in Hujiang, Ling Han did not appear again. However, he would order 3 meals a day to be delivered to the set on time. Even if she wasn't on set sometimes, he seemed to know her schedule accurately. Even when she went to the awards ceremony, he would send her a bowl of hot chicken soup when she was touching up backstage. For the past month, he had not missed a single one of the 3 meals a day. Ji Xiaoya took Naaneo to visit the set. When she saw the table full of dishes, she sighed. We both turned over a new leaf. But why is your treatment so much better than mine? Yi Huanyan leaned against the sofa and rested. When she heard this, she glanced at Ji Xiaoya. My brother doesn't treat you well? It's not that. I just feel that he has been hiding something from me recently. Ji Xiaoya lowered her head, looking like she had a lot on her mind. What do you think? Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Why do you think so? Didn't my brother just come home the day before yesterday? Uncle has been missing for 2 days. He hasn't contacted godmother for 2 days. Naaneo was playing games on the sofa when he casually explained. There was a strong sense of sadness in his voice. He disappears as soon as he comes home. Ji Xiaoya sat down next to Yi Huanyan. She rested her head on her shoulder and sighed. What's wrong with your brother? Yi Huanyan frowned. Maybe it's because he wants to protect you. Someone wants to kill me and protect me. Can't you think of a decent excuse for your brother? Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. After thinking for a while, she said, Did my brother tell you that I have a cousin? She's my aunt's daughter. Her name is Gu Duo. Ji Xiaoya shook her head and gradually sat up straight. This cousin of mine is somewhat related to me and my brother. During the years when the Gu family couldn't find me, my aunt sent her to the Gu family as a form of comfort to my mother. All these years, she has been taking my identity as the second daughter of the Gu family, so she can be considered my brother's sister. She's a few months younger than me, and it's her birthday in 2 days. So he went home to see his sister. Ji Xiaoya was a little confused. That doesn't make sense. According to what you said, this sister is the same age as you. She's in her 30s. Is she not married? Is she still living at home? I'm only telling you her identity. I don't know the details. I think my brother should tell you personally. Anyway, she's definitely not a good person. She doesn't have a normal sibling relationship with my brother either. When she heard the last sentence, Ji Xiaoya's face turned pale. You mean? But don't misunderstand. My brother doesn't have any personal feelings for her. Moreover, after so many years of sibling relationship, it's probably been exhausted by her insanity. The only reason he was so obedient to her was because of some secret information that no one knew about. It wasn't even a secret, but a promise to another person. Gu Xinian had disappeared for 5 years. He couldn't have disappeared for no reason. Even the 2 elders of the Gu family knew that he was thinking about a girl far away in China. Actually, she shouldn't be the one to tell Ji Xiaoya these things, so she could only remind her a little, so that she could be more prepared. He didn't know if it was because his words made Ji Xiaoya think of something, but later on, he saw that she looked like her soul had left her body. She didn't say more than a few words and hurriedly left. Naaneo looked up from his tablet and looked at his mother. Mommy, is it really okay for you to tell Godmother these things behind Uncle's back? Yi Huanyan frowned and sighed. I know it's not very good. But before I met your uncle, Xiaoyu was my best friend. Therefore, she couldn't take a stand on this matter. She could only act as a catalyst to promote their relationship, hoping that the bad things would end quickly, and the good things would come quickly. However, she knew that bad things would definitely come, but she didn't know if good things would come after the bad things. Chapter 379. After Ji Xiaoya left, Yi Huanyan called Gu Xinian and told him what she had said. On the other end of the line, Gu Xinian sounded a little tired. I'll go back after Duo's birthday. I'll explain everything to Xiaoyu then. Brother, I've always wanted to ask you, what exactly did Duo have on you? Why is it that you clearly want to send her back to Auntie's side, but you still listen to everything she asks you to do? There was a short silence on the other end of the line. After a while, Gu Xinian's hoarse voice sounded. I don't have anything on her. Don't think too much about it. After all, she's been with Mom and Dad for so many years. I only see her as a little sister. But I'm afraid she doesn't just see you as a brother, right? What kind of sister would fill her room with photos of her brother? What kind of sister would stay at home until she was in her 30s and not get married? What kind of sister would constantly monitor her brother's movements and chase after her own brother like a madwoman? The discussion on the phone ended without any results. Yi Huanyan wanted to help Ji Xiaoya by finding out what was going on between Gu Xinian and Gu Duo. However, Gu Xinian knew what she was thinking and kept his mouth shut. In the Four Seasons villa on the other side of the ocean, the night was dark. After hanging up the call with Yi Huanyan, Gu Xinian went into the bathroom to take a shower. A figure in a sexy bathrobe tiptoed into the room. She quietly lifted the corner of the blanket and slid in. After Ji Xiaoya returned from Yi Huanyan's place, her heart was in suspense. She held her phone for a long time before she finally made the call. Gu Xinian had told her not to contact him for the next few days, but he didn't tell her the reason. She didn't understand what kind of secret place the Gu family was. Why couldn't she even call him? After a series of beeps, the call was connected. A sweet female voice sounded from the other end of the line, but there was a hint of vigilance in her tone. Hello, who are you? Behind the sweet female voice, there was the sound of splashing water. Ji Xiaoya held her breath and subconsciously glanced at the phone screen. After confirming that it was Gu Xinian's name, her eyebrows twitched violently, and she decisively hung up the phone. She tightened her grip on her phone, and her eyes dimmed. Was this the reason why he didn't want her to contact him? When Gu Xinian came out of the shower, he casually lifted the quilt and was about to get on the bed. From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of the bulge in the quilt. His face immediately sank. Come out. As soon as he finished speaking, the bulging part of the blanket trembled. I don't want to repeat myself. A slender hand stretched out from under the blanket and pulled open the blanket, revealing a sweet face. Even though she was already 30 years old, she still looked as pure as a young girl because she had taken good care of herself. She was 70% similar to Yi Qinghuan 5 years ago. Brother, I'm just joking with you. Gu Duo giggled, her bathrobe slipping off her shoulders, revealing the lace suspender dress underneath. Really? It's not funny. Gu Xinian glanced at her chest and immediately turned his back, saying coldly, Put on your clothes and go back to your own yard. Gu Duo pursed her lips. That's not my yard. It's Sister Yin Yan's. Really? If you don't like to live there, then pack up and go back to your own home early. I won't. Gu Duo got up from the bed and quickly climbed to the bedside. She grabbed Gu Xinian's bathrobe and gritted her teeth. I said I won't go. You also promised me that as long as I want to, I can always live here. Gu Duo let go. Gu Xinian's voice sounded cold. Gu Duo's face darkened. You promised me that you would take care of me for a lifetime. You promised. That was when we were young. You are my sister. I'm not. Gu Duo screamed. Turn around. You know I'm not your sister. I'm 32 years old. I've passed the best age to get married. I've waited for you for so many years. Why don't you even have the courage to look at me? Gu Xinian's face was cold. He shook off her hand fiercely and stepped forward to distance himself from her. If you continue to be so crazy, I'll ask my aunt to take you home tomorrow. Isn't it shameful enough? Do you think there aren't enough rumors out there? Gu Duo gritted her teeth and grabbed the pendant around her neck. It was made of transparent crystal and contained a gray-white powdery substance. Turn around and look at me. Otherwise, I'll drop your child. Gu Xinian turned around abruptly and stared at the glass bottle in her hand in disbelief. His eyes were red as he snatched it from her and roared. Are you crazy? Gu Duo laughed crazily on the bed. Her clothes were disheveled and she laughed crazily. Go ahead and snatch it. I have more anyway. No one knows where the rest is except for me. I'm crazy. I must be crazy to hide his ashes in different places. I didn't hesitate to use such means to force you to stay by my side. Where is the rest? Gu Xinian's face was livid as he clenched the bottle in his hand. Gu Duo's face was pale. There's only one left. Together with the one in your hand, you have to promise to do two things for me. Gu Xinian's face darkened. Say it. I'm going to sleep on this bed tonight. Gu Duo looked straight at him. With you. The filming of Remaining Life in Hujiang was coming to an end. After Yi Huanyan left the crew to the two assistant directors, she suddenly took 3 days off and sent her son to Ji Xiaoya's apartment in Hujiang. When she sent Naaneo to Ji Xiaoya's apartment, she saw the alcohol bottles all over the floor and the half-dead Ji Xiaoya lying on the sofa. She covered her nose with a frown. Why are you drinking again? My brother hasn't contacted you yet. Gu Xinian had been away for 2 weeks this time. Occasionally, he would call Yi Huanyan to ask about Ji Xiaoya. Something was obviously wrong, but Yi Huanyan couldn't ask too much. Ji Xiaoya half opened her eyes on the sofa, looking hungover. She rubbed her eyes and yawned as she looked at Yi Huanyan. Last night, a few friends came to my place for a party, so I drank a little. You didn't just drink a little. Yi Huanyan covered her nose and couldn't help waving her hand in front of her face, trying to get rid of the unpleasant smell of alcohol. I originally planned to let Naaneo stay with you for a few days, but looking at your condition, I think we should forget about it. I'll take him back to Lanjiang. Why are you going back? Are you done with the movie? Yi Huanyan's eyes dimmed a little. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Grandma's death. Ji Xiaoya's nonchalant expression froze, and she stopped rubbing her eyes. After a moment, she said in a hoarse voice, Leave Naaneo here. I'll call Chen and ask her to come over and keep him company. Chen had arrived in Hujiang 3 days ago for a group competition at the Hujiang Stadium. She was considered semi-retired and was now a commentator. Ever since they met at the bar, Ji Xiaoya got along well with Yi Huanyan and her friends, especially Chen. Now she was almost like Ji Xiaoya's bodyguard. Okay, then don't drink for the next 2 days. After giving her advice, Yi Huanyan rubbed her son's face. Mommy is going to Lanjiang for 2 days, so you can play with Auntie Xiaowu and Mommy, okay? Chapter 380. Now shrugged and climbed onto the sofa on all fours like a little adult. I'm fine with anything. Let's play the game somewhere else. It was not far from Hujiang to Lanjiang. It only took a 5-hour drive to reach the western suburbs. At the cemetery in the western suburbs of Lanjiang City, Yi Huanyan walked into the cemetery dressed in black. Ling Han had not deliberately appeared by her side for more than a month. Apart from meeting him at various award ceremonies and banquets, it seemed that they had not seen each other alone for a long time. It was such an awkward thing to have her identity exposed. Before she came, she specially checked Ling Han's itinerary for that day. After confirming that he had come to the cemetery in the morning and had a meeting in the afternoon, she came to avoid bumping into him. Looking at the old lady's photo on the tombstone, Yonghin's frozen appearance was exactly the same as in her mind. She frowned, slowly squatted down, and placed a bouquet of daisies in front of the old lady's grave. Grandma, I'm back. I'm Yin Yin. At this point, she subconsciously touched her face. You might not recognize me. I haven't come to see you all these years, because of some special reasons. I think you'll understand me. Actually, thinking about what happened back then, I feel that it was quite ridiculous. At that time, I wanted to marry Ling Han, and ran to you to beg you. You doted on me and pitied me, so you agreed. But from the beginning to the end, I never asked for his opinion. That's why things became so ugly later on. You were also put in a difficult position. Did you see Uncle Ling and my mother up there? I almost got to see them 5 years ago. The cold wind rustled, and autumn gradually covered the entire Lanjiang. A tall figure stood behind a big pine tree not far from Yi Huanyan. He hesitated for a long time, but still did not go forward. He could not bear to break this scene. He could not bear to break the overlapping scene between her and 5 years ago. Yi Huanyan talked a lot in front of old Madame Ling's grave. If she had not been interrupted by a phone call, she would have probably talked until the sky turned dark. After answering the phone, a familiar voice sounded from the other end. Have you seen Gu Duo? Yi Huanyan frowned and glanced at the caller ID. It was Gu Xinian. But why would he ask her if she had seen Gu Duo? What's wrong? She asked with a frown. The voice on the other end of the phone sounded a little anxious. She left the villa last night. I checked her itinerary, and she flew back to China. She seemed to have contacted Xiaoyu these 2 days. I'm afraid something happened to Xiaoyu. Not everyone can see Xiaoyu. What can Gu Duo do to her? Yen, you don't understand Gu Duo. Gu Xinian's voice sounded very serious. Then, do you know Xiaoyu? Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and her tone became serious. Brother, how long has it been since you contacted Xiaoyu? On the other end of the phone, Gu Xinian was silent for a few seconds. Yen, there are some things that I will explain to you when we meet. I don't need to listen to this explanation. You should explain to Xiaoyu as soon as possible. She has waited for you for 5 years. You really shouldn't let her wait any longer. I won't let her wait any longer. I plan to propose to her when I return to China this time. This time, Yi Huanyan was silent. As the sun set, Yi Huanyan was silent for a few seconds before she suddenly screamed. Oh my God, are you serious? The tall figure in the distance trembled behind this voice, and a stunned expression appeared on his face. After a while, that stunned expression gradually turned into a warm smile. She probably heard some good news, which was why she was smiling so happily. Actually, as she said, it was good to let her appear in front of him with her current identity. There was no need to force her to admit her past. No matter what, her position in his heart would not change. It would be the same for a few years. It didn't matter if she was Gu Huanyan or Yi Huanyan. After returning to Lanjiang City, Yi Huanyan made a trip to Haiyan Media on the way. When she was not around, Gucci managed the company very well. But when she returned, a pile of documents was handed to her for her to sign. This is the list of authors signed by the company, as well as a brief introduction of each of their books for promotion in the second half of the year. 5 of them will be chosen to be the focus of the promotion. I have chosen 5 of them. If there are no problems, you can sign it. If I didn't come back, would you have chosen these 5 people directly? Yes. Then why are you showing me these useless things? You can make the decision yourself anyway. Yi Huanyan was a bit speechless. Do you think I'm bored? Gucci shook his head. After all, you are the boss. If you don't do anything for a long time, you will easily lose confidence. Yi Huanyan laughed out loud. Who told you that? I can't wait to be bored. All right. Don't look for me if you can make the decision yourself in the future. The rules and regulations are giving me a headache. If there's nothing else, you can go do your work. I will leave in a while. Gucci nodded and handed her the white envelope. There is one more thing that you can decide for yourself. The invitation letter with the Pleasure Group's stamp was lying on Yi Huanyan's desk. It was the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the Pleasure Group. Seeing Yi Huanyan's hesitant expression, Gucci asked carefully, If you don't want to go, I will ask my assistant to tell them that you are busy filming in Hujiang. I will prepare a gift and send it over. After a while, Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and said faintly, No need, I happen to have time. Tell them that I will attend. Gucci stared blankly for a moment before a hint of disappointment flashed across his eyes. All right, I understand. When he left the office, he couldn't help but look back at Yi Huanyan. She was in a daze with one hand supporting her chin, and the other tapping on the desk, as if she was playing a melody. She even hummed a few lines and seemed to be in a good mood. A week later, Remaining Life finished filming in Hujiang. It was the 50th anniversary of the Pleasure Group, and many of the actors and actresses had to ask for leave to attend the anniversary celebration. Yi Huanyan gave the crew 3 days off, and after the break, they had to move to France for filming. This time the Pleasure Group invited a lot of people. First of all the signed artists of the company were present. Then, there were all the major media companies, as well as many entrepreneurs in Lanjiang City. The scene was even better than the annual celebration. Before attending the banquet, Ji Xiaoye looked very tired. She had originally planned to cancel the banquet, but Yi Huanyan had brought her the most beautiful evening gown on the show, and forced her to put on makeup and wear it. Then she went to the banquet with her. If you want to see Ling Han, you can come by yourself. Why do you have to drag me along? Sitting in the car, Ji Xiaoye complained impatiently. You will regret it if you don't go. Yi Huanyan thought to herself, but acted as if nothing had happened. Chapter 381. The banquet was booked in the biggest star hotel in Lanjiang City. It was so extravagant that it was comparable to a film festival. Yi Huanyan walked the red carpet with a reluctant man in her arms. The man complained all the way without showing any respect to her. When they were waiting to walk the red carpet, the reporter outside the yellow line asked her, Chief Editor Ji, you come to the anniversary celebration of Pleasure Group on behalf of Fengshang. Is it because you have worked in Pleasure Group before? It's because I received the invitation. Ji Xiaoye glanced at the reporter lazily, seeming to be too lazy to say more. The reporter smiled embarrassedly. Chief Editor Ji, what's your comment on the anniversary celebration of Pleasure Group this time? Do you have any blessings? Good job. The style of the red carpet is so low-end that it can be seen everywhere. It's so bad. Sorry, we are going to enter the venue. Yi Huanyan covered Ji Xiaoye's mouth and pulled her away from the reporter. She reminded her in a low voice while walking. Do you want to be on the headlines tomorrow? Ji Xiaoye, the chief editor of the famous fashion magazine, is nitpicking at the anniversary celebration of Pleasure Group. Do you want to inherit the title of the sharp-tongued queen from Su Mang? No, it's very likely that you will become Miju Shirtai. Ji Xiaoye was a little embarrassed by her words. A trace of apology flashed in her eyes. She took a deep breath and murmured, Sorry, I'm not in a good mood today. So, if there are reporters coming to interview me, or anyone wants to approach me to talk to me, you can help me to block them tonight. After signing their names on the giant screen of the anniversary celebration, the two entered the hotel side by side. Seeing Ji Xiaoye's unhappy look, Yi Huanyan was a little confused. What happened on earth? Ji Xiaoye frowned. I called your brother. It should be at night over there. I heard the sound of the shower. A woman answered the phone. Yi Huanyan's face turned pale. When? Half a month ago. On the day you told me about the younger sister of your Gu family. What happened after that? Yi Huanyan quickly asked. Did my brother call you back after that? Did you call him again to ask? Ji Xiaoye shook her head. No wonder. No wonder after that day, she would get drunk and pass out every now and then. She was photographed by reporters several times at drinking parties with her friends, and had to be helped home. There were also several times when she was photographed with a young male actor. Rumors about her were flying everywhere, saying that she was an old cow eating young grass. After taking a glass of champagne from the waiter, Yi Huanyan pulled Ji Xiaoye to sit on the sofa in an inconspicuous corner, so that they wouldn't have to socialize with all the business people. So you've been acting like you've lost your soul because of this phone call. Do you think it's not important? Ji Xiaoye looked at her in surprise. At night he was taking a shower. A woman in the room answered the call. Don't you think it's important? Have I ever told you that I have a maid in my house? And she's a maid who speaks authentic Mandarin? What? Ji Xiaoye's face stiffened. In the building where my brother lives, there are at least 4 Filipino maids who speak very authentic Mandarin. The one who answered your call is most likely one of the Filipino maids. Do you need me to call and ask for you? Maid. Ji Xiaoye widened her eyes in disbelief. Why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't tell me earlier, big sister. Oh no, I've wronged your brother. Ji Xiaoya instantly looked like she was about to cry. She put on an apologetic expression. I've been cursing his ancestors for the past 2 days. They're also my ancestors. Yi Huanyan kindly reminded her. No. I need to drink to calm myself down. With that said, she snatched the glass from Yi Huanyan's hand and downed it in one gulp. Seeing that she was in a good mood, Yi Huanyan helplessly shrugged. Then why don't you eat something and drink less? I'm going to meet the company's business partner. Is that okay? Go ahead. Ji Xiaoya waved her hand, looking like she didn't care. Yi Huanyan lifted the corner of her skirt and shook her head with a smile. She combed her long hair with one hand and then walked in the direction of the VIP lounge. After walking a little further, she dialed the phone and lowered her voice. Where are you? A deep voice came from the other end of the phone. Peony Hall. After hearing this, Yi Huanyan hung up the phone and hurriedly walked into the private room on the right. As soon as she entered the Peony Hall, she saw that the entire hall was filled with balloons with strings and white petals scattered on the red carpet. She didn't have time to sigh. She hurriedly lifted her skirt and found Gu Xinian among the group of assistants. Brother, let me ask you something. Gu Xinian was wearing a white suit. Standing in the crowd, his height of nearly 1.9 meters was particularly eye-catching. When he saw Yi Huanyan's serious expression, he hurriedly restrained his expression and walked out of the group of assistants who were arranging the scene. What's wrong? Yi Huanyan pulled Gu Xinian aside. Let me ask you, what happened between the two of you before Gu Duo ran away from home? Why do you ask? Gu Xinian frowned. Half a month ago, on the night I called you, did Gu Duo go to your room? Yi Huanyan directly pinpointed the person who answered Ji Xiaoya's call at that time to Gu Duo. She had just explained to Ji Xiaoya to reassure her. The maid of the Gu family wouldn't answer the master's call. Moreover, among the maid of the Gu family, the one who lived with Gu Xinian in Shiyuan could only speak English. In the Gu family, other than her mother, Wen Yi, the only woman who dared to answer Gu Xinian's call in the middle of the night was Gu Duo. She was the so-called sister, who had something on Gu Xinian that made him so cautious. Gu Xinian was preparing to propose today. Everything here was prepared for Ji Xiaoya. Yi Huanyan originally wanted to cooperate with him to lure Ji Xiaoya here and give her a surprise. However, as Ji Xiaoya's best friend, she first had to figure out what secrets her brother had with another woman. Gu Xinian's expression darkened. After a while he spat out a word. Yes. You. Nothing happened between us. Yi Huanyan looked up at Gu Xinian and took a deep breath. Gu Duo spent the night in your room, but nothing happened between the two of you. I believe this, but Xiao you may not believe. I think you've already found a way to cover it up, haven't you? Gu Xinian frowned. There was a trace of uncertainty in his tone. It's best not to tell her about this. Don't let her think too much. I'm loyal to her. Yi Huanyan could only sigh and say helplessly, fortunately I'm smart. After saying this, she suddenly thought of Gu Duo's disappearance. She grabbed Gu Xinian's arm and asked, by the way, where is Gu Duo now? Have you found her? At the mention of this, Gu Xinian frowned again. She's in Lan River. Chapter 382. What's she doing in Lanjiang? Looking for you? Gu Xinian furrowed his brows. She came with her family. She's home? Yi Huanyan was stunned. How could she be willing to? Gu Xinian had a complicated look in his eyes. Before Yi Huanyan could ask Gu Duo the purpose of her visit, a figure darted through the entrance of Peony Hall. It was Gu Qi. He hurried over to Yi Huanyan. Second Miss Ji is looking for you outside. It looks like she's coming here. We haven't finished decorating yet, right? I'll go out and delay her. You guys hurry. Yi Huanyan hurriedly lifted the corner of her dress and walked towards the door. When she exited Peony Hall, she happened to see Ji Xiaoya walking over. As she walked, she pointed in confusion behind Yi Huanyan. What are you doing in here? What's so fun about it? Yi Huanyan held her hand and forcibly pulled her in the direction of the hall. Nothing much. I was looking for the restroom. I've been looking for it for a long time. It just so happens that I need to use the restroom too. As she spoke, Ji Xiaoya tried to break free from her hand and walked towards Peony Hall. Hey, don't go. There's a queue for the restroom over there. Let's go there. Yi Huanyan hurriedly pulled her and spun her around before dragging her towards the hall. Ji Xiaoya was a big-hearted person. She didn't sense anything wrong and let her drag her along. There was always a long queue in front of the ladies' restroom, but the men's restroom was always empty. It seemed to be an iron law that couldn't be broken, even at such a grand anniversary celebration. After sending Ji Xiaoya into the restroom, Yi Huanyan sat on the sofa near the restroom. On one hand, she was waiting for her to come out. On the other hand, she was waiting for Gu Qi to give her a signal so that she could prepare to lead Ji Xiaoya out. The banquet had started a long time ago. When Ling Han walked in front of her with a glass of champagne, she was eating a small piece of cake with her head lowered. She had been busy with her makeup and hair since noon, so she didn't have time to eat. So now that she finally had time to eat something, she cherished it very much. She thought that Ling Han, as the CEO of Pleasure, would be so busy that his feet wouldn't touch the ground. But when she saw his relaxed expression, Yi Huanyan couldn't help but look surprised. You're waiting for someone? Ling Han asked. I'm not waiting for you. After Yi Huanyan said this, she felt like she had exposed herself. She clearly wasn't waiting for him. There was a ladies' restroom nearby, so she didn't need to explain to know that he was waiting for his female companion. With this explanation, she felt like she was making things worse. Thus, her expression immediately changed. She turned her head unnaturally and avoided his gaze. Ling Han didn't seem to notice. He sat down on the sofa next to her. His long legs were squeezed between the coffee table and the sofa, and he looked like he had nowhere to sit. He didn't say anything, but Yi Huanyan couldn't sit still. She asked hesitantly, Pleasure is celebrating its anniversary. As the CEO, don't you need to entertain the guests? Ling Han raised his head and looked at her. There are plenty of people in the company to entertain the guests. Besides, these people aren't just here for Pleasure's anniversary celebration. The business cocktail party is just a large-scale corporate networking event held for seemingly legitimate reasons. Of course, the organizer had to get to know all the guests and wasn't in such a hurry to interact with them. For example, Ling Han. The phone flashed with a signal that it was ready. Yi Huanyan glanced at it and put the phone back into her handbag. Is Gu Xinian ready? Ling Han glanced at her hand from the corner of his eye. His expression was indifferent. Yi Huanyan was stunned for a moment, but she wasn't very surprised. They were borrowing the venue of the hotel, where he was holding the anniversary celebration. Gu Xinian naturally had to inform him beforehand. There was quite a commotion in the Peony Hall, so it was normal for a meticulous person like him to know what was going on inside. Yes. She nodded and zipped up her handbag as if nothing had happened. I think I should go. You're not waiting for Chief Editor Ji? Ling Han's tone today was formal and distant. He didn't deliberately test her feelings, which made her feel at a loss. Sit for a while. It just so happens that I have something to apologize to you about. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. What? Previously, I mistook you for my wife. It was my mistake. I'm sorry. Yi Huanyan's eyes revealed a somewhat stunned expression. She looked into Ling Han's eyes, trying to figure out something from them. Was he retreating in order to advance? But he really did look apologetic and magnanimous. When he looked at her, he looked a little annoyed, but his expression and actions were very natural. But I think that since President Gu is running the company so well, you shouldn't mind too much. Another day, I'll treat President Gu to a meal alone as an apology for what happened before. What do you think? Yi Huanyan resentfully raised her wine glass and reluctantly clinked it with his. After taking a sip, she hesitantly asked, I'm very curious. I wonder, why did President Ling suddenly change your mind? It's not really sudden. It's just that she's back. Who's back? Yi Huanyan deliberately put on a nonchalant expression. My wife. What? Yi Huanyan's face paled. At that moment, she thought that she had heard wrongly, until Ling Han slowly stood up and looked in the direction of the first floor. She followed his gaze and suddenly saw a familiar figure. Wearing a pink dress and holding a champagne glass, The corners of her eyes and the tips of her eyebrows were smiling. But if one looked closely, there was always a hint of gloominess in this smile. The noble temperament that she had cultivated since young made her look natural and unrestrained. If it wasn't Gu Duo, who else could it be? You're saying that she is your wife. Although I'm not sure it should be her. So I apologize for what happened before. President Gu. I hope that we can still meet and get along as normal as before. Yi Huanyan was so angry that she was trembling. Are you crazy? How could she be your wife? With that said, she lifted her dress and walked in the direction of the stairs, leaving Ling Han behind. From the moment Gu Xinian said that Gu Duo had appeared in Lanjiang City, Yi Huanyan had a faint feeling of uneasiness. That feeling of uneasiness was released the moment she saw Gu Duo. In the past, Gu Duo was 70% similar to Yi Huanyan because of her different style of dressing and makeup. But now, the light makeup on her face and the style of her shoulder-length hair was 90% similar to Yi Huanyan. When she saw Yi Huanyan, she could still raise her glass to her, as if nothing had happened. She smiled sweetly and said, "Long time no see, my older sister." Yi Huanyan glanced at her in annoyance and directly pulled her into an empty private room. After shaking off her hand, she said coldly, "Don't try to get close to me. I have something to ask you." Gu Duo lowered her head and looked at her nails, looking indifferent. "If it's about your ex-husband, I don't think there's anything to talk about." Chapter 383. Yi Huanyan's face turned green as she said rudely, "Firstly, he is not my ex-husband. We are not divorced yet. Secondly, why did you use my identity to get close to him? You'd better tell me the truth. Otherwise, I have ways to make sure you won't be able to stay in Lan River for another day." Her domineering aura made Gu Duo's face turn pale, but she quickly calmed down. "Yi Huanyan is the one who didn't divorce him. Didn't you refuse to admit it? I've never used your identity. You, on the other hand, have been using my identity for the past 5 years. The identity that should have belonged to me, the one and only second daughter of the Gu family." Seeing how stubborn she was, Yi Huanyan could not be bothered to talk nonsense with her. "I'm going to tell Ling Han who I am now, and who you are. Not only that, I'll also tell my brother and parents everything you've done. You can tell them when you're in front of them." She had just taken 2 steps when a faint voice came from behind her. "Go ahead and leave. If you want to see my brother and that shameless woman ruin the marriage proposal, then go ahead and say it." "What are you?" Yi Huanyan turned around. Her furious eyes instantly darkened when she saw the photo on Gu Duo's phone. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. "Don't think that 2 photoshopped photos will have any effect on this marriage proposal. You're too naive, Gu Duo." "Am I the naive one? Or are you lying to yourself?" Gu Duo walked closer step by step, her expression dark. "I think your best friend must have told you that one night half a month ago, she shamelessly called my brother. I was the one who answered the phone." "Why was I the one who answered the phone?" She suddenly laughed. "My dear sister, why don't you think about it? It was the middle of the night. Why was I in my brother's room? And why was I the one who answered the phone call?" "Lunatic," Yi Huanyan spat out disdainfully. "You're really a lunatic." Gu Duo's eyes gradually turned deranged. "Do you think that you're a saint just because you haven't seen Ling Han for 5 years and had more than 100 plastic surgeries? Do you think you're a saint just because you haven't seen him in 5 years? Why did I wait for Gu Xinian for so many years? But in the end, I didn't get anything in the end. Even my right to be his sister was taken away by someone like you? Who do you think you are?" Yi Huanyan Gu Duo, and looked as though she was about to pull the door open. Gu Duo stopped her hand. "As long as you dare to step out of here, this photo will appear on the electronic screen during the marriage proposal. Not just the marriage proposal, but also their engagement, and even to marriage too." "What on earth do you want?" Yi Huanyan was livid. "These things are already set in stone. My brother will definitely be with Xiaoyu in the end. Even if they don't end up together, it won't be your turn." Gu Duo sneered. "What do I want? Ever since I was born, you've been a knife hanging over my head. I knew that you would come back one day, and everyone's love for me would disappear the moment you came back. You snatched it away. Now it's really like that. So even if you snatch something from me, I have to take something back in order to balance it out, right? What do you want? Ling Han. Just as Yi Huanyan had said, she was destined to not be able to get Gu Xinian, but she had to open a bloody wound in the hearts of the Gu family. Even if this wound would heal one day, it would definitely leave a shocking scar. What she wanted was for the Gu family to remember her when they saw that scar. Since she couldn't get him, then she would do her best to make them remember her by hook or by crook. Yi Huanyan's expression instantly became angry. She glared at her fiercely and spat out 2 words. In your dreams. So stubborn, Gu Duo sneered and let go of her hand. Then you can leave. I can guarantee that as long as you step out of this door, I'll do as I say. Yi Huanyan felt as though her legs were filled with lead and she couldn't move. Her fingers trembled slightly as she held the door handle. After a while, she put down her hand and slowly turned to look at Gu Duo. You want to be with Ling Han, just to take revenge on me? What's in it for you? Gu Duo's sharp eyes turned at this moment, revealing a cold light. It's better to say that it makes your family uncomfortable. Remember this disgusting thing for the rest of your life, just like how your appearance will make me feel disgusted for the rest of my life. What makes you so sure that Ling Han will believe that you're me? I don't intend to let him believe that I'm you. But between you and me, if you don't take the initiative to confess your identity, who do you think is more like the woman who originally deserved to die? Ridiculous. Yi Huanyan couldn't laugh out loud. After a while, she found her voice. It was very difficult. At this moment, she regretted not telling Ling Han her identity earlier. So she had no choice but to be threatened by Gu Duo. Gu Xinian had done a lot for her, and so had Xiao Yu. She couldn't let these people down. Okay, I promise you. But I want to know, what do you have on my brother that made him obey your orders all these years? The word obey was a little too serious, but this was the emotion that Yi Huanyan was most dissatisfied with. Her brother, whom she respected very much, even if he gave in to anyone a little bit, this made her feel dissatisfied, let alone a woman like Gu Duo. Gu Duo sneered, and her eyes were very complicated. Didn't he tell you this kind of old story? You're his dearest sister. Yi Huanyan frowned. She knew that the matter was definitely not simple. She didn't know how Gu Duo got close to Ling Han, but she knew that this woman must be crazy. The most important thing now was Ji Xiaoya's safety. Whether it was physically or mentally, many explanations were actually the same, but it was very different from who said it. In the peony hall, Ji Xiaoya only saw Ling Han standing at the stairs on the 2nd floor when she came out of the bathroom. She slightly paused and subconsciously looked around. She didn't see Yi Huanyan, so she frowned. She originally wanted to directly pass by Ling Han and go down from the stairs on the other side. But after just 2 steps, she saw Ling Han turn around and saw her. It would be impolite if she didn't greet him, so she could only laugh dryly. President Ling, why aren't you receiving the guests downstairs? Ling Han's eyes had a hint of a smile. These 2 best friends spoke in the same tone. There was nothing else to say, right? If you're looking for Yin Yan, I just saw her enter the peony hall. Hearing this, Ji Xiaoya felt as if she had been pardoned and quickly thanked him. Then I'll leave first. Seeing Ji Xiaoya running away, Ling Han took a deep breath and followed her. Ji Xiaoya avoided Ling Han completely because of Yi Huanyan. In the past few years, in fact, Fengxiang and Pleasure had been on good terms, mainly because of Su Mang. After she succeeded Fengxiang, it was not good to not respect Pleasure. But as soon as Yi Huanyan came back, the situation was different. Chapter 384. The hall was packed with people. Pleasure wasn't just for fun. The entire floor of the hotel had been booked, and there was an endless stream of guests coming and going. Ji Xiaoya had drunk some wine, so her steps were still weak when she went downstairs. She lifted the corner of her dress and walked to the entrance of the peony hall. She raised her hand to push open the door, but all she saw was darkness inside. She frowned and staggered 2 steps into the hall. She shouted in a hoarse voice, "Yin Yan?" With a whoosh, the distant spotlights shone on the end of the red carpet. A gorgeous pure white wedding dress was hanging on a hanger. Long beaded tassels swayed on the dress, and the gauze wrapped around her shoulders. A bright sapphire was inlaid in front of her chest, and the design of the hollow lace was gorgeous and complicated. She was stunned, thinking that she had walked into the wrong venue and mistakenly entered a romantic surprise that was meticulously planned by some romantic person. She hurriedly wanted to withdraw. However, the second beam of light suddenly shot down and landed on the eyes of a person beside the wedding dress. She had never seen him in a white suit. In her impression, Gu Xinian was always cold, devilish, and even cold. He always wore a lifeless black suit and walked around the major business cocktail parties and financial newspapers, telling others about his views on international finance. She had seen his serious look, she had seen his unruly look, she had seen his gentle look, and she had seen his helpless look. No matter what he was like, with just a few words, he could make her throw herself into his arms without any hesitation, regardless of anything else. But at this moment, he was solemn and serious. That serious look made her wonder what such a beautiful wedding dress was for. Before she could think further, his voice rang out in the hall. Creating romantic surprises is probably something that teenagers in their early 20s are used to doing. You used to tell me that the more romantic something is, the more tacky it is. Back then, I thought that when you said that, you were hinting that you didn't like such things. Ji Xiaoya stood rooted to the ground in a daze. She was more than half sober now. After being apart for so many years, I've thought about it for a long time. Back then, you just wanted to tell me how to create a romantic scene. Just pick the most tacky one, as tacky as possible, right? The third spotlight shone on Ji Xiaoya. As she moved on the red carpet, her footsteps became more and more hurried. When she reached Gu Xinian, she was almost running. At this time, the noise had attracted many people in the hall, who were standing at the door to watch. Ji Xiaoya stood in front of Gu Xinian, panting. She took a deep breath to adjust her breathing. Her voice was trembling, and she tried many times before she finally asked, "What are you doing?" She didn't dare to be happy too early. Just like 5 years ago, he promised to bring her home to meet his parents. But in the end, he left her alone in the country. She waited for 5 years without any news. Gu Xinian took out a blue suede box from his pocket. When she opened it, she saw a diamond that had not yet been inlaid. The diamond was picked out by my dad in South Africa. Once you agree, you can choose how to inlay it. My mom personally designed the wedding dress. They said that these two things represent their attitude, so you won't have any problems with your family. Ji Xiaoya fell silent. She pursed her lips, and after a while, she said in a choked voice, "You haven't told me what you want me to agree to." Gu Xinian smiled and got down on one knee. His voice was deep and seductive. "Marry me." At the end of the red carpet were the guests who were watching the commotion outside. Some people started to make a fuss, but Gu Xinian glanced at them. He raised his hand, indicating that they should keep quiet. Instantly there was complete silence. "Don't worry about other people's opinions. I just want to know what you think. Are you willing to marry me? Don't you mind that I'm a married, middle-aged man who is much older than you?" Why would she mind? 5 years ago, she felt that she was not good enough for him. She worked hard and finally got to where she was today. She could barely stand shoulder to shoulder with him. But she realized that there was something in this world that could not be made up for. It was called time. 5 years was too long. She was already a 32-year-old middle-aged woman. Although she took good care of herself, after removing her makeup, it was obvious that she had been through the vicissitudes of life. Young girls in their teens and 20s were growing like bamboo shoots after the rain. With Gu Xinian's qualifications, he could totally choose from them. 5 years later, when they met again, perhaps it was to relive the old dream. Or perhaps it was to draw a perfect ending to the old dream. Or perhaps it was not a perfect ending. When she accepted the fact that Gu Xinian was back, she had already thought it through clearly. Even if there was no result, she had accepted her fate. She just had to seize every moment. But now, this ending seemed to have become a joke. The next sentence was, "Are you willing to marry me?" The pen to continue the future fell into her hands. "I'm willing." The 3 beams of light merged into one, illuminating the perfect couple and the set of beautiful wedding photos on the stage. Outside the door, there was a wave of applause that rose and fell one after another. The lights in the entire venue were brightly lit. At this moment, Ji Xiaoya saw how gorgeous the entire venue was. Pink, blue, and white balloons were all over the venue. The place she had just walked was a red carpet covered with petals. The long table covered with a white tablecloth was filled with all kinds of Western snacks. The decoration, like a wedding hall, made her reveal a stunned expression. She had not noticed at all when she had just run over, and there was an intimate photo of the two of them on the big screen. It was framed in pink and surrounded by tricolored balloons to form a heart shape. It was so vulgar, but it was romantic to her heart. And Gu Xinyan's next sentence made her even more shocked. "Since you've agreed, today will be our engagement party. What do you think?" Ji Xiaoya pursed her lips. Her face was flushed red, and she was about to cry. "You've already arranged it. Can I say no?" When Yi Huanyan arrived, she only saw Ji Xiaoya with tears in her eyes. She was holding the suede box with the naked diamonds in her hand and crying nonstop. She subconsciously turned around to look at Gu Duo. Gu Duo was standing behind the crowd with a sullen face. After noticing Yi Huanyan looking at her, she quickly averted her gaze and finally landed on Yi Huanyan's face. In the air their eyes met. There was a warning and a threat. Ling Han was also standing in the crowd and seemed to be deliberately walking towards her. Yi Huanyan hesitated for a few seconds. In the end, she picked up the corner of her dress and walked in the opposite direction. It did not matter when she confessed, but not today. At the very least, she had to ensure that Gu Xinyan and Ji Xiaoya had a perfect and sweet night. After tonight, she would definitely find a solution. After sending a text message to Gu Xinyan, Yi Huanyan hurriedly left the venue. She picked up the corner of her dress and got into Gu Qi's car outside the hotel. She simply said, "Let's go back to the company." Chapter 385. Ling Han chased her to the entrance of the hotel, only to see Yi Huanyan's car drive away. He frowned and took out his phone, but a faint voice came from behind him. "If you can't hold it in, I'm afraid you won't be able to get her back." "Why did she leave? What did you say to her?" "I told her that you are with me now." Ling Han's face darkened. "You just promised to do me a favor to dispel her doubts. Who gave you the right to do that?" He thought that there were enough misunderstandings between him and Yi Huanyan, and he didn't need any outsiders to add fuel to the fire. Gu Duo came to him herself, saying that she could help him. Maybe she didn't know, but at the birthday party in Florida, he had seen clearly that this woman was a person who was used to making trouble behind people's backs. She was not a good person. The so-called sisterly love was probably something that she had fabricated herself. He didn't care about Gu Duo's purpose of approaching him, but he didn't feel at ease leaving such a person by Yi Huanyan's side. So he played along and comforted Yi Huanyan, who was scared by him last time. This was his purpose tonight. He acted naturally in this play, pointing at Gu Duo and saying that she was his wife, just to see Yi Huanyan's reaction. If she really cared about him, she was bound to confront Gu Duo and ask her why she approached him. He did see her go aggressively, but what happened next was different from what he expected. She didn't come to explain anything to him, and she didn't even make any excuses when she left. Was there a misunderstanding again? It was such a clumsy play, and no one knew Gu Duo's identity better than he did. Could it be misunderstood? He repeatedly dialed Yi Huanyan's cell phone number. "She won't answer," Gu Duo reminded him. Sure enough, it was hung up after a few seconds. He called again, but the call was busy. Obviously he was blacklisted. "Mr. Ling, I think you should sit down and have a good talk with me." Ling Han's eyes were like torches as he said coldly, "Before this, if she misunderstands us, I think you won't mind coming with me to explain." "It's my pleasure." Gu Duo shrugged, looking indifferent. After getting in the car, Gu Duo looked at Ling Han, who was sitting in the passenger seat, with a meaningful smile in her eyes. "My sister doesn't listen to reason or force. I advise you not to explain it to her in a hurry. In fact, it's good to let her misunderstand. After she calms down, maybe she will come to you and confess. I don't want to have any misunderstandings with her." Do you dare to say that this misunderstanding was not caused by your acquiescence? Don't tell me you're going to say that the fact that my sister was separated from you for the past 5 years was also a big misunderstanding. Then the heavens really didn't care enough for the two of you. Have you ever thought that my sister came back this time not to look for you at all? And my sister's child. Have you ever thought about who the child is? Enough. A cold reprimand came from the passenger seat. Ling Han was really angry, and his mind was in a mess. In the apartment on the top floor of Haiyan Media, the doorbell rang urgently. Yi Huanyan frowned and glanced at the monitor. After seeing Ling Han, she asked through the door, "It's so late. Why are you looking for me?" "I have something to explain to you." There was no one else on the monitor. Yi Huanyan hesitated for a few seconds, opened the door, and leaned against it. "Then say it." "I also have something to tell you. There's nothing between Gu Duo and me. I have to explain this to you clearly." Ling Han stood at the door, panting slightly. Probably because he ran over, his breathing was a little unstable. Seeing him so anxious, Yi Huanyan's heart softened. She wanted to tell him everything. However, she saw a figure walking faintly from the end of the corridor. It was like a lingering ghost. It wasn't an illusion. It was really her. When the words came to her mouth, she changed her tone. "What's there to explain? Didn't you say that she's your wife?" "I'm just not sure yet. But she looks like your wife and feels like her." Ling Han's eyes froze. I was just... You were just testing me? Then what did you find out?" "You found out that I'm Yi Huanyan?" Her face was livid. She kept looking at the figure at the end of the corridor from the corner of her eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, "That's right. As you wish, I'm Yi Huanyan. But so what?" Ling Han's eyes lit up. He immediately grabbed her hand. "Yin Yin, you admit it. You're willing to admit it. So what if I admit it? So what if I don't admit it?" Yi Huanyan's face was cold. "I'll go back to America after this film. It has nothing to do with you. You didn't come back to look for me." "What a joke." She looked indifferent. "Why would I come back to look for you? Who do you think you are?" Ling Han's face was pale. He seemed to be grasping at his last life-saving straw. Naneo's birthday. According to the date of birth, she clearly conceived the child when she was with me. How do you explain that? Yi Huanyan pinched her palm. Her voice turned cold. "Who said that the child was yours? Who told you that the date and year were correct? I aborted your child a long time ago." Her heart ached when she talked about the child. The pain of losing that child still lingered in her heart. That was the most important thing that made her unable to forgive Ling Han. No matter how much she loved him, the world seemed to be silent. After a while, only a trembling voice could be heard in the corridor. "I don't believe it." Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. "Wait here." She turned around and went into the room. She dug out a crumpled abortion certificate from her suitcase and handed it to him. The certificate was from 5 years ago, not long after her car accident. When she was first sent to the operating room for emergency treatment, the doctor asked the family if they wanted to give up on this child, who was very likely to become deformed. There was a signature on it. It was Gu Xinyan's name. "Do you believe it?" she asked. Ling Han's body swayed. He barely managed to stabilize himself by holding onto the wall. He stared blankly at the abortion certificate in his hand. The blood drained from his face. "How could you? Why can't I?" Yi Huanyan's eyes were filled with complex emotions. She glanced at the figure in the corner and steeled her heart. "I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. The child is not yours. I didn't come back to look for you. Ling Han, it's important to know one's own limits." "I don't believe it," he muttered to himself. At this moment, his pair of clear eyes seemed to have lost their focus and become empty. There was a flurry of footsteps in the corridor. Gu Qi looked at the situation in front of him in astonishment. "President Gu, call security and chase him away." Yi Huanyan threw these words and walked into the room without looking back. Chapter 386. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window, there was a neon-lit road not far from Haiyan Media Corporation. She saw a figure being carried out by the security guards. She tried to rush in, but was pushed down in the end. She staggered and fell on the ground. She didn't stand up for a long time. You feel bad for her? A faint voice sounded behind her, full of pride. Yi Huanyan turned around angrily and shouted at Gu Duo. Are you satisfied? Gu Duo raised her eyebrows. More or less. I'm quite satisfied. You did this willingly. Give it to me. Gu Duo had promised before. If this play was to her satisfaction, she would return the information she had on Gu Xinian to her. You want it so urgently? Gu Duo sneered. She lowered her head, untied the chain around her neck, and waved it in front of Yi Huanyan. Here, it's for you. The pinky-sized glass bottle contained a grayish-white powdery substance. Originally, it was hung on the neck with a fine silver chain. Yi Huanyan couldn't see what it was. Now that it was untied, Yi Huanyan held it in her hand. She looked at the bottle carefully and found an Arabic number 9 engraved on the cork. What the hell is this? She held the bottle tightly and looked at Gu Duo coldly. It seems that my brother really didn't tell you anything about what happened that year. Do you know Young Ke? Young Ke, Gu Xinian's ex-wife. Of course, Yi Huanyan knew. She had heard Gu Xinian tell the story of him and Young Ke. However, the two parted on bad terms. Young Ke passed away not long after they divorced. I told you before that the person I hate most is you. That's not right. Before you, there was a woman who was even more annoying than you. That was Su Ke. If she was still alive, you two would have been very good sisters. Because you both make me feel disgusted. Yi Huanyan never thought that she knew the truth from Gu Duo. Even though there was a strong sense of individualism in the story, she could still tell that the story was much more realistic than what Gu Xinian had said. Because it was much more brutal than what Gu Xinian had said. And because he was the person involved, there was no way he could describe such a brutal incident in a completely appropriate manner, so he had hidden some facts. For example, after the divorce with Su Ke, she actually gave birth to the child and raised it alone. Another example was that the child died not long after being born, because of congenital defects. The truth came out one by one from Gu Duo's mouth. About 10 years ago, Gu Xinian met a girl from a remote village in the United States, Su Ke, because the group was building a resort. Not long after they met, he brought her home to meet his parents and relatives, and said that he wanted to marry her. Most of the elders in the Gu family didn't care about the marriage of their children. Gu Xinian had always been a decisive person, so no one came out to oppose, and the marriage was prepared logically. Su Ke's hometown was very far from the Four Seasons villa, so during the wedding preparations, she directly lived in a hotel near the villa. At that time, Gu Duo, who was still the second daughter of the Gu family, often visited her, and the two became friends. I didn't want to be friends with her at all. It's just that brother and mommy felt that she was too lonely in the hotel alone, so they asked me to accompany her often. She's the kind of person who doesn't like to be seen in public. She's the one who insisted on being friends with me. It's ridiculous that she thinks too much of herself. Gu Duo's tone was full of contempt for Su Ke. Yi Huanyan frowned, but didn't interrupt her. Su Ke only knew that Gu Duo was Gu Xinian's sister, but she didn't know that he had a sister who had been separated for many years. The one in front of her was only his cousin, but this sister secretly loved her brother, because they had been together since childhood. If she had known, maybe the tragedy later would not have happened. The wedding was held according to the customs of Su Ke's hometown. The bride's face was covered with a layer of gauze, and the face of the bride couldn't be seen clearly. Gu Xinian drank wine, sneaked into the wedding room, and kissed all the way through the gauze. The moment he removed the gauze, he was very sober. Do you know? At that time, I said that Su Ke didn't want to marry him and ran away. I sat in the room, because I was afraid that the wedding guests would come and make the Gu family lose face when they saw that there was no one in the room. He really didn't chase after me, and sat by the bed for the whole night. When speaking of this, Gu Duo showed an extremely sarcastic smile, and her voice suddenly deepened a few degrees, sounding very gloomy. Do you know? In fact, Su Ke was in the next room, but no one knew. This was a bet between me and Su Ke. Yi Huanyan's heart clenched. Even though these were all things that had already happened, even though this was just Gu Duo's statement of the past with a gloomy individualism, She still couldn't help but feel sad for this unfortunate couple from 10 years ago. Before he proposed to marry Suku, Gu Xinian didn't reveal too much of his feelings to Suku. They got married because of a strange combination of circumstances, and he might have thought that there would be plenty of time to reveal his feelings after marriage. At that time, he wasn't sure whether Suku was interested in him, but Suku didn't refuse to marry him. Suku seemed to be a resigned person on the surface, but there was some inferiority and cowardice in her bones. However, the knot in such a person's heart was more difficult to untie. After knowing Suku for a long time, Gu Duo knew that there was a misunderstanding between her and Gu Xinian. Suku always thought that Gu Xinian married her only because of his responsibility, so she was very nervous before the wedding preparations. Before the wedding, Gu Xinian didn't go to see her again, which gave Gu Duo an opportunity to take advantage of. I told her frankly that I liked my brother. I told her that my brother married her only because of his responsibility, and also because it was a cover. My brother would still be with me in the future, and she was just a useless person raised by our Gu family. That's why there was a bet on the wedding. Yi Huanyan couldn't believe that such vicious words would be said by Gu Duo, who was only 22 years old 10 years ago. But at this moment she looked crazy. Recalling her evil deeds, she seemed to be free and without any fear. Aren't you afraid that I'll tell my brother all this? Yi Huanyan's face turned cold. Of course you can tell him, as long as you want your best friend to be completely finished with him. Gu Duo snorted coldly. You know what? Suka asked for a divorce the day after she married my brother. This woman doesn't love my brother at all. Yi Huanyan had never seen Suku, but she heard from Gu Xinian that Suku was a woman who looked very gentle, but was very stubborn. After she firmly believed that Gu Xinian didn't love her, but had someone else in his heart, she resolutely chose to leave. This was her freedom, and also her help to Gu Xinian. If Gu Xinian had let her go at that time, it might have been a blessing. But even if he was willing, the Gu family wouldn't be willing. The Gu family wanted to save face. In the end, when he came forward and talked to Suku, for the sake of Gu Xinian's face, she could live in the Gu family for a year, and then quietly divorce. At that time, she could go wherever she wanted to. Chapter 387. When the love between Suku and Gu Xinian was described by Gu Duo, it didn't seem to be as sentimental as when Gu Xinian and Yi Huanyan talked about it. It even made Yi Huanyan feel that it was her brother's wishful thinking. She didn't know if this feeling was an illusion or not. After when Yi persuaded Suku, she lived in the south court of the Four Seasons villa for about a year. According to the agreement, she and Gu Xinian quietly went to divorce. Gu Xinian arranged a remote house for her to live in Florida, and she didn't refuse. She may have thought that my brother would still go to see her, but she didn't expect that until the child was born, my brother didn't go to see her. Suka died of dystocia. It sounded incredible, but in the state with the most advanced medical care in the United States, she died of dystocia. Before she died, she entrusted the child to Gu Duo. That was why Gu Duo broke the engagement that year. She took care of the child in Florida and hid it from the two elders of the Gu family. Later, Gu Xinian found out about it and brought the child back to the Four Seasons villa regardless of anything. However, the child died the night after he brought it back. You see, how much does Suka hate my brother? How much does she hate the Four Seasons villa? After she died, she didn't even let go of her own child. Yi Huanyan frowned and stared at the woman in front of her, who was almost crazy. When she mentioned Suku, she couldn't control her emotions. When she mentioned Gu Xinian, she was full of tenderness. Her whole person seemed to be distorted as she immersed herself in her performance. She felt that part of Gu Duo's words was credible, but the other part was not. Suku would never entrust her with anything that was not trustworthy, such as that child. As if seeing the doubt in Yi Huanyan's eyes, Gu Duo's eyes turned and returned to normal. She said slowly, I've told you everything you want to know. Now let's talk about the child. Suka grew up in an autonomous prefecture, in a remote area in the south. Like her parents, she was a national minority and believed that people should be buried in peace after death. Only when their ashes were collected could they be reincarnated. Gu Duo grasped this point. She secretly hid the child's ashes and divided them into 10 parts, threatening Gu Xinian to agree to what she did. Gu Xinian felt guilty towards Suku. He was a cold person, but he did many things against his will for the child he had only seen a few times. Gu Duo looked at the glass bottle in Yi Huanyan's hand, and her eyes became gloomier. So the thing in your hand is the child's ashes, number 9. Yi Huanyan's face turned pale, and her fingers trembled. She suddenly felt that her palm was very hot. If it weren't for her reason telling her that this thing was important to Gu Xinian, she really couldn't hold it. No wonder she heard her mother talk about Gu Xinian's strange behavior for many years. Perhaps those strange behaviors were because of this thing. Number 9, and the other one? Yi Huanyan calmed down and looked at Gu Duo coldly. Gu Duo sneered. You are quite calm. When that woman knew about this, she was so scared that she ran away from the Four Seasons villa. That woman was my brother's original fiancée. They broke off the engagement 10 years ago. But 8 years ago, after Suku died, she still had the cheek to visit our house. She may have thought that she could occupy a place in the villa after Suku left. What a wishful thinking. I don't want to know about this. Where is the other one? You promised me that as long as I did what you said, you would give it to me. Yi Huanyan looked at Gu Duo with a frown, and was a little impatient. In the middle of the night, she was full of anger, and had to listen to a hateful woman talk so much in her house. It was really a headache. For the sake of the relationship between Gu Xinian and Ji Xiaoye, she was worried and sacrificed a lot. She didn't know how to explain it to Ling Han later. I said that I would give it to you, but I didn't say that I would give it all to you. What if you go back on your word and go to Ling Han to explain it? Do you think I'm stupid? Gu Duo glanced at her and picked up her bag on the sofa. I've said what I should say. I'm tired. Where is the bedroom? Yi Huanyan suddenly looked up. Are you going to live here? What's wrong? Can't I? You don't need a room here, do you? Yi Huanyan twitched the corner of her mouth. Are you going to monitor me every minute of every day? Now that you mention it, I'll monitor you at the same time. When I'm in a good mood, maybe I'll give the last one to you. At this moment, Yi Huanyan was a little regretful. She raised her voice and said, Hey, are you done? Gu Duo acted as if she didn't hear her. She went straight to the bedroom and didn't regard herself as an outsider at all. When she reached the bedroom door, she suddenly thought of something. She turned around and asked, Where did you get the abortion certificate? Yi Huanyan sat on the sofa angrily. Her face was pale as she said angrily, You're too nosy, aren't you? 5 years ago, when I was about to die, my brother signed the notice of critical illness in the operating room. But I didn't agree to the operation. Gu Duo raised her eyebrows and showed an indifferent expression. Oh, what kind of person was she? Yi Huanyan was furious. The next day, Yi Huanyan packed up and prepared to fly to Paris with the crew. Gu Duo came out of the bedroom dressed neatly. She was wearing Yi Huanyan's clothes. She didn't stand on ceremony. I heard that you're going to Paris. She leaned against the sofa with her arms crossed. Yi Huanyan nodded angrily. Are you going with me? That's not necessary. How long will you be gone for? At least a month. It would take at least a month to finish the rest of the scenes. Oh, then you can go. Gu Duo glanced at her and said in a meaningful tone. I asked Mr. Ling out for dinner today. You hurt him badly yesterday. I'll drink with him to relieve his boredom. Yi Huanyan's face turned pale. What are you trying to do? Didn't I tell you yesterday? I'm going to give up on my brother and find someone else. After all, I've wasted a lot of time over the years. It's not easy to find someone I like, so I can't let go of him, right? Gu Duo's words made Yi Huanyan feel like she was dreaming. She had been talking to her in a roundabout way. In the end, she wanted to steal Ling Han away. But in fact, she didn't seem to have done anything out of line. Yi Huanyan suspected her real purpose, but she also believed that Ling Han wouldn't be fooled by her. After glancing at the time on her wrist, she closed her suitcase and got up. Gu Duo, I don't care what you want to do, but you'd better live up to your conscience. Gu Duo looked down at her diamond-studded nails and said with a look of disdain, "How much is conscience worth?" On the way to the airport, Yi Huanyan called both Gu Xinian and Ji Xiaoya. She wanted to remind Gu Xinian about Gu Duo, but she couldn't get through. After asking Gu Qi, she found out that the two of them had gone on a trip after last night. Chapter 388. Both of their phones were turned off, and there was no news at all. Who was going to clean up such a mess in Lanjiang City? Yi Huanyan hurriedly instructed Gu Qi to keep an eye on Gu Duo during this period of time at the airport. Then, she stepped into the security checkpoint with a worried expression. The plane took off and left Lanjiang City. She sat on the plane, pulled down the shades and sighed deeply. She hoped that Ling Han had enough patience to wait for her to think of a way to solve the problem in front of her, and then let bygones be bygones. The moment she was threatened by Gu Duo, she suddenly realized that humans were really creatures who didn't know what was good for them. When there was peace and quiet in front of them, they didn't want to die. It wasn't until the wind and rain disturbed their peaceful days that they realized that peace and quiet was real. Sun Yanhua, who was sitting beside her, was stunned when he heard her sigh. He hesitantly took off the earpiece on his right ear and handed it to her. He asked softly, "Want to listen to music?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She nodded hesitantly and plugged the earpiece into her left ear. Soothing music played. The lyrics were beautiful, and so was the melody. Gradually, she felt sleepy and closed her eyes. Sun Yanhua was originally focused on listening to the music. Suddenly, he felt a weight on his shoulder. He was stunned and his body stiffened for a few seconds. In the end, he carefully spread out the blanket and covered Yi Huanyan's body. Then he pulled down the blindfold and closed his eyes to rest, allowing Yi Huanyan to lean on his shoulder and sleep. Before he came, he sent Jingjing to Zheng Ro's side. He heard Zheng Ro say something about Gu Huanyan. Because he left in a hurry, he didn't hear her in detail. He only felt that it was inconceivable. He even thought that she was deliberately testing him to see if he still had any feelings for the past. He was really unhappy. After all, it was too much to use a person who had already passed away to joke or throw a tantrum. However, the faint fragrance of orchids wafted from his side, and he was still stunned. He needed a relatively quiet environment to think about what was going on. In the same cabin, diagonally across them, a man wearing a cap was fiddling with the camera in his hand. The moment Sun Yanhua put on the blindfold, he took a lot of photos of them. Just as he was feeling smug, a crisp voice suddenly sounded beside him. "What are you filming? Let me see." The man in the baseball cap felt guilty. He was stunned for a moment before realizing that the voice came from beside him. He glanced at the girl sitting beside him and said impatiently, "What does it have to do with you?" The little girl was wearing casual sportswear, with a red soundproof earpiece hanging around her neck. She didn't show any displeasure when she heard what he said. She just moved her hand and grabbed the man's wrist. The man let out a muffled groan as she grabbed his neck. He couldn't make a single sound. Half a minute later, the camera fell into the little girl's hands. After deleting all the photos of Sun Yanhua and Yi Huanyan, she threw it on the man's lap. "I'm warning you. If you dare to take photos again, my hand just moved 2 inches or pinched you for a few minutes. Then you can apply for a disabled person's license." The man in the baseball cap felt aggrieved when the news he took so much effort to get was deleted. He touched his neck and asked, "I have no grudge against you. What are you doing? Are you Sun Yanhua's fan?" "Me." The little girl pointed in the direction of Yi Huanyan, who was sleeping in the distance. "I'm his sister." Sitting next to the man in the baseball cap was Chen Yin. And sitting next to Chen Yin, dozing off by the window, was Naaneo. Chen Yin had been paying attention to the man in the baseball cap for a long time. The paparazzi were really willing to spend a lot of money to take photos. They followed him to Paris. "Is your line of work very profitable? You followed him to Paris to take photos. Sun Yanhua is now popular again?" Chen Yin asked the reporter very gossipy. The reporter was a little afraid of her, and shook his head submissively. "I didn't come to take photos of Sun Yanhua. I just saw him like this with another woman, and wanted to take a photo. If he cheated, The news of cheating could sell a lot of money, but I really didn't come to take photos of him. Who is that? Chen looked around, and her eyes fell behind Su Nianhua. Xing Anren? The reporter shook his head. Guan Nai. I heard that Guan Nai was going to Paris to shoot, so I came to follow the news of Guan Nai. Guan Nai? Chen shook her head. I heard that you reporters have to keep it a secret when you chase people. Isn't it not very good to tell me like this? It's okay. We'll take photos when we get to Paris. There's a fashion show in Paris. Guan Nai will definitely go. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure in the front seat turned around slowly and took off the eye mask on her face. There was no expression on her jade-like face, and her voice was cold. I don't plan to go to the fashion show. Also lower your voice. You're disturbing my sleep. Chen Ying clearly saw the muscles on the reporter's face tremble. Guan Nai. Probably out of professional habit, Guan Nai subconsciously picked up the camera. When she turned around, she glanced at Chen Ying lightly and said lightly, I'm going to sleep. Chen Ying looked like she had received the order and snatched the camera away. Brother, let me take care of the camera first, in case you can't help but take photos of everyone in the cabin. This cabin was practically booked by the cast of Remaining Life. With so many A-list and B-list celebrities gathered here, any photo or two would be big news. But there was a wolf in front and a tiger behind, so he couldn't take photos even if he wanted to. The reporter himself felt very sad. Halfway through the flight, Naaneo woke up. After rubbing his eyes, he climbed over Chen Ying and the sleepy reporter to Yi Huanyan's seat and stared blankly at Su Nianhua. Su Nianhua raised his hand and put his index finger to his lips to make a shushing gesture. Shoo. Naaneo touched his chin thoughtfully and stared at his mother, who was drooling in her sleep, and whispered, I think if my mother wakes up and finds out that she drooled on your shoulder, she'll be even more embarrassed than she is now, so it's better to push her to the side. Su Nianhua couldn't help but smile and nod helplessly. He straightened her head and leaned her back against the seat, then pulled out 2 tissues to wipe the drool on his shoulder. Naaneo didn't want to care about his mother, so he climbed onto the empty seat next to Su Nianhua and asked in a low voice, Do you like my mother? She's single now, so if I speak up for you, she'll more or less consider my opinion. Su Nianhua was very familiar with Naaneo, so he knew that this child's thoughts were different from other children's and couldn't be treated with common sense, so he smiled. I'm married. Don't you know my wife? She's Jingjing's mother. Hearing this, Naaneo shrugged. What's the big deal? The divorce rate is so high now, and Jingjing told me 2 days ago that you and Auntie Xiaorou are getting a divorce. Su Nianhua's expression changed. Jingjing told you? Why does she think so? Chapter 389. Don't think that children don't know anything, okay? Naaneo gave Su Nianhua a disdainful look. Even I know that Aunt Xiaorou is living separately from you. It was really embarrassing to hear this from a child. Su Nianhua looked at him angrily. But there is no such thing as a divorce. Jingjing said that if you two get divorced, she will not live with either of you. Then where is she going? Su Nianhua could not help but raise his voice. See, you are still going to get divorced. Naaneo looked at him calmly, and his eyes became deeper. Su Nianhua was speechless. He had experienced what it was like to be tricked by a child over and over again. He had experienced it vividly from Naaneo. No, really. Su Nianhua touched his forehead and explained patiently. At this moment, the stewardess was giving out lunch. Yi Huanyan woke up when she smelled the food. She looked at the 2 people with sleepy eyes. What are you talking about? Why are you so excited? Su Nianhua spread his hands. Your son insisted that I had divorced Xiaorou, and that we were discussing where Jingjing would go in the future. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan looked over Su Nianhua's shoulder and looked at her son. Naaneo, if you want to play with Jingjing, why did you say yes when I asked you if you wanted to go to Paris with me? Because I feel that you are not very happy recently. Before Yi Huanyan could respond, Naaneo glanced at the food in the stewardess's hand, jumped down from his seat and ran towards Chen Ying. He shouted as he ran, Sister, I am eating here. Give me a steak. The annoying guy was gone, and the world was a lot quieter. Su Nianhua was curious about the reason for Yi Huanyan's unhappiness. He could not help but ask. Naaneo said that you are not happy recently. What's wrong? Is there something on your mind? Yi Huanyan drank the juice the stewardess poured for her, and took a deep breath. It's nothing. Just some trivial matters. I'll deal with them after the shooting. It won't take long. I used to think so too. A lot of things may not make a difference, but when things are piled up, when it is time to deal with them, I don't know where to start first. Like the matter with Ruru? Yi Huanyan changed the topic. How did you end up getting a divorce? Weren't you guys on good terms when you met on set? When she asked this question, Yi Huanyan forgot that Zheng Ro had not contacted her after that meeting. Su Nianhua frowned. After that day, she went back to her parents' home. I sent Jingjing the day before yesterday, and she met with me to talk. There wasn't much time, and she said something that I thought was very strange. The plane suddenly shook, and the juice on the table shook. The sweet and gentle voice of the air stewardess came from the radio, interrupting Su Nianhua. Dear passengers, our plane has just encountered turbulence, and it is now stable again. Don't worry, we are deeply sorry for the inconvenience. Please continue with your meal. Enjoy your meal. Yi Huanyan was wiping the table with a tissue. She asked, what did she say to you? Let me help you. Su Nianhua was stunned. He looked at Yi Huanyan wiping the table and frowned. Her tone unconsciously became a little hesitant. No, nothing. It was just strange words. The person in his memory also liked to wipe the table when the water spilt. She slowly took out a large stack of paper and spread it on the table. She could even continue the previous topic with the person next to her, as if she was not worried that the things on the table would be soaked. However, it was just a movement that he had seen before and could not even count as a habit. What could it prove? Lan Jiang. When Gu Duo arrived at the bar, it was already early in the morning. The bartender had called her, so she immediately took a taxi to the bar after putting down the phone. When she saw Ling Han, whose face was full of stubble and looked completely different from his usual noble image, she frowned. She pulled up a high stool and sat down. She glanced at the bartender and said, a shot of tequila. The bartender nodded. This was just enough time for Gu Duo to ask about Ling Han's situation. When did he get here? Why is he so drunk? Around midnight last night. I wasn't on duty yesterday, but I heard from the staff yesterday that we were supposed to close at 5 in the morning. But when they knew it was Mr. Ling, no one dared to chase him away. They just let him sit here. When he woke up, he would drink. When he was drunk, he would lie down. He had been drinking on and off for a day and a night. Our manager felt that something would happen if he continued drinking, so he checked his phone. The first call in the call log was Gu Duo, so it was normal for him to call her. Faced with the bartender's ambiguous gaze, Gu Duo glanced at him indifferently. Is my tequila ready? It's almost ready. The bartender hastened his movements. But aren't you going to take Mr. Ling away? Since I'm already here, I'll just have a drink. Why? Are you afraid that I can't afford it? The bartender shook his head repeatedly. That's not what I meant. They just had to put it all on Ling Han's tab. They didn't care who they called, as long as they could get rid of this Buddha. Otherwise, if something happened to him while he was drinking, their bar would be the unlucky one. Gu Duo supported her chin with one hand and studied Ling Han's side profile, which was lying on the marble countertop. He was indeed quite good-looking. Even his drunken, unshaven and sloppy appearance gave off a noble and decadent feeling. No wonder Yi Huanyan could not forget him after so many years. Miss, your tequila. Okay. Gu Duo casually threw a card to the bartender and let him swipe it. Then, she sat on the bar stool and drank slowly. Ling Han slowly woke up and saw a woman sitting beside him. His eyes were hazy for a long time, and he murmured, Yin Yen. Gu Duo drank a glass of wine and sneered. What's so good about Yi Huanyan? In a daze, Ling Han only felt that he was being carried out of the bar by two people. In the dim light of the night, he hugged a person for a long time and refused to let go, calling the name in his heart over and over again. In a daze, he seemed to hear that person coldly ridicule. Yi Huanyan is the same as Su Ke. There's something wrong with their brains. The next morning, the first ray of sunlight shone into the room. It was dazzling and glaring, shining on the face. When Ling Han woke up, he was in a hotel room. The sound of water splashing came from the bathroom, filling the entire room. He looked at his surroundings in a daze, but he couldn't remember what happened last night. He only felt that his head was splitting. Not long after, with a swish, the bathroom door opened. Gu Duo wore a loose bathrobe and walked out of the bathroom while drying her hair. Standing at the door, she glanced at Ling Han on the bed with an indifferent expression. "You're awake? There's an antidote beside the bed for your headache. Take it." Chapter 390. Paris. It was already late at night when they arrived at the hotel. After the entire crew was assigned their rooms, Yi Huanyan got off the elevator and dragged her suitcase to her room. Chen Yin and Naaneo were already heading to their rooms with their room cards. She turned around and realized that Su Nianhua was the only one following behind her. "Where's Guan Nai?" Yi Huanyan glanced behind Su Nianhua. "Before we got on the elevator, I saw a foreign man talking to her in the lobby. Then Guan Nai left with him. It seemed like they knew each other, so I didn't ask." Yi Huanyan nodded. "Okay, I got it." Before she entered the room, Su Nianhua wanted to say something several times, but he stopped himself. Ever since he noticed her wiping the water on the plane, he paid more attention to her habits of speech and actions. The more he observed, the more he felt that what Zheng Ro said to him was not ridiculous. She was Gu Xinyan's sister? Su Nianhua vaguely remembered that 5 years ago, when Yi Huanyan lived in Ji Xiaoya's apartment, Gu Xinyan often came in and out. He seemed to have heard Yi Huanyan call him brother by chance. All these coincidences added together were too coincidental. And now that Zheng Ro said those words to him with such certainty, he couldn't help but suspect everything. Just as he was about to close the door, he saw the little radish Naaneo standing next to his suitcase. The door opposite him was already closed. He didn't notice that he had come out, or that he hadn't gone in at all. "Why are you here? I'll send you back to your room. I want to talk to you." Naaneo stood up straight like a little adult. "If you still want to talk about Jingjing, then forget it. I'll talk to you in 20 years. I want to talk about my mommy. I don't plan to get a divorce. But isn't my mommy your first love?" Hearing this, Su Nianhua's face turned pale. "What did you say? It's been so long. Haven't you realized that my mommy is your first love? It seems like what my uncle said is true. Actually, you don't love my mommy that much. Men are really fickle creatures." "Wait." Su Nianhua stopped Naaneo. "Come back and talk to me." Yi Huanyan took a shower and walked around the room, but didn't see Naaneo. Only Chen Yin was practicing on the yoga mat alone in the living room. "Where's Now?" she asked while drying her hair. "You must be playing a game. Didn't you enter the bedroom as soon as you came back?" Yi Huanyan pushed open the bedroom door next to her and looked around. "There's nothing. Not here?" Chen Yin got up from the yoga mat. She was stunned for a moment, but then she smiled and said, "It's okay. He's in this room in a corner." Just as they were talking, the doorbell rang. Both of them were stunned. Who could it be in the middle of the night? When they opened the door and saw Naaneo, Yi Huanyan rolled her eyes at Chen Yin. "Didn't you say that he was in the bedroom?" Su Nianhua patted Naaneo's head and looked at Yi Huanyan with a complicated expression. "He played at my place for a while. I didn't want you to worry, so I sent him back." Hearing that, Yi Huanyan glanced at Chen Yin again. Some people volunteered to be Naaneo's nanny, but the reality is that he might be missing for a night without being noticed. Chen Yin knew that she was in the wrong. She took Naaneo from Su Nianhua's hand and said embarrassedly, "I'm taking Naaneo to take a shower. Naaneo is such a smart guy. How could he go missing?" After the two troublemakers left, Yi Huanyan looked up at Su Nianhua seriously. "Thank you. It's okay. I just wanted to ask you something." "What is it?" Yi Huanyan opened the door. "Come in and sit." "It's okay. I just want to ask you a few questions." Before he could say anything, Yi Huanyan looked hesitantly in the direction of the bathroom. "Did Naaneo say something to you?" "It's not just him. Xiaoro too." Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds. Then she slowly raised the corner of her mouth and revealed a smile. I didn't want to hide it from you. I just thought that it would be too troublesome to explain. You don't mind, right? She admitted it calmly. Her attitude was the same in front of everyone who recognized her. Only Ling Han treated her differently. Su Nianhua's eyes were a little wet. He turned his head to hide his sadness. After a while, he suddenly pulled Yi Huanyan into his arms and hugged her tightly. It's good that you're back. The sudden hug made Yi Huanyan's heart tighten. After a long time, she calmed down. She had no place to put her hands. She patted his back hesitantly and said softly, So explain it to Xiaoro clearly. I can use my power to give you a break, so you can go back and explain it to her. Su Nianhua hugged her for a long time before letting go. His eyes were wet, and his voice was nasal. He almost choked. It's okay. I'll call her and explain it clearly. A person needed time to recover from a sudden shock. Even though Su Nianhua accepted the fact that she was back so calmly on the surface, she could see that he was flustered and unprepared from the way he fled. Yi Huanyan stood at the door for a long time before closing it. On the other hand, Su Nianhua was sobbing when he answered the phone with Sung Ro, who was an ocean away. A week after the movie started shooting in Paris, Su Nianhua seemed to have adapted to Yi Huanyan's identity. He could also chat with Yi Huanyan on the avenue of the Champs-Élysées. They talked about the past calmly and freely. Su Nianhua seemed to have let go of a lot of things because of her return. He seemed to be much more radiant than when they had just met after returning to China. Are you going to let go of the matter between you and Ling Han? I heard that he has been involved in scandals recently. Some media reporters even said that he is going to get married. What's the woman's background? Do you need me to help you investigate? The adopted daughter of the Gu family. Nominally, she is my sister. Yi Huanyan still had her hands behind her back, looking indifferent. Su Nianhua's lips twitched. How can you be so calm? What can I do if I'm not calm? But do you really think that Ling Han will marry her? In the photos that were exposed in the newspaper, she looks very similar to you in the past. Could Ling Han have misunderstood? It's just that we look alike. Could it be that Ling Han wants to marry her just because she looks like me? Then why didn't he come to me directly? After calming down for a few days, Yi Huanyan contacted her mother once. She more or less understood, and guess why Gu Duo wanted to get close to Ling Han. You trust Ling Han so much? I trust him. Yi Huanyan stopped in her tracks. The maple leaf fell on her shoulder, making her look even more gentle. Su Nianhua raised his hand and took the maple leaf from her shoulder. He smiled. I really hope that you can reconcile with each other after you come back this time. You may not know how crazy Ling Han was when you left. Tell me about it. I want to hear it. She put her hands behind her back again. They walked side by side under the setting sun. Chapter 391. Half a month later, the last scene was to be shot in Las Vegas in the United States. A group of people evacuated from Paris and rushed to the United States. There is not much gossip about Ling Han in China. After all, he is just a businessman, not a star artist. However, the news of his marriage was published in the financial newspaper. This is the only public news about Ling Han that Su Nianhua and others learned when they were shooting in Paris. Even Sheng Anren couldn't help but mess up the newspaper and the crew. He scolded angrily. Where did the pheasant come from to add scenes for himself? A pirated version is not embarrassed to break out this kind of news. Guan Nai is touching up her makeup. Hearing that, she looks at her faintly. Why, you still don't change your mind? Sheng Amren glared. Who doesn't change their mind? I'm convinced that I lost to Yi Huanyan. What's the matter with this pirated version? How much does she look like Yi Huanyan? What's the matter? It's also a skill to look like her. What are you excited about? This time, it was Chen Yin who spoke. She was now Guan Nai's half-bodyguard and part-time assistant. In fact, she had nothing to do with collecting some food for Guan Nai. However, she liked to gossip when she had nothing to do. She gave Sheng Amren a lot of face. Do you want to go to the plastic surgery and do it again? Sheng Anren was so angry that she couldn't say a word. She stamped her feet angrily, got up and went out of the makeup artist to find the director. Director, I didn't play the scene well just now. Let's do it again. The scene just now was that she provoked others in the casino. It was a very powerful scene. Chun-Yin was holding melon seeds and eating them as she walked. She was watching the show like an old woman on the street. Even Sheng Anren, who has become the past, is not so calm. Yi Huanyan is still indifferent, which can't help but make people confused. She was so calm that Su Nianhua once thought that she had planned to give up Ling Han. Financial newspapers have never made groundless accusations. Don't you think the news of the marriage this time is true? Su Nianhua asked. Yi Huanyan put down the script in her hand and said seriously, "The last scene is in 3 days. It will be at the church in the western suburbs. The venue has been decided. In the afternoon, there will be a wedding. After the wedding, it will be our turn to film." Su Nianhua frowned. "Yin Yan, what time is it? In my opinion, you should hurry back to China after finishing the last scene in 3 days and clear up any misunderstandings. If you want to be together, then be together. If you can't get along, then forget it. Don't hide anything from me. You don't have to go back. The wedding in 3 days will be between Ling Han and Gu Duo. Gu Xinian and Ji Xiaoya should have had enough fun on this trip." Since the night of the pleasure anniversary celebration, the two of them seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth and could not be contacted. In a situation where the two of them could not be contacted, they could only bide their time and see what Gu Duo wanted to do. Yi Huanyan did not believe that she really wanted to marry Ling Han. Her love for Gu Xinian had become an obsession. No matter what she did, it was related to him. Therefore, this wedding could not be separated from Gu Xinian. Late at night, Las Vegas, one of the 4 major gambling cities, was brightly lit. This was the city of Sin, a world-famous gambling den. If you only had a few dollars left, you might come here to become rich overnight and change your life. If you were a billionaire with a net worth of more than 100 million yuan, you would instantly become a homeless person on the street. This was Las Vegas. Chun Yin's intention of pestering Yi Huanyan to go abroad was because of this. She had long wanted to go to a famous casino to play. Even if she did not play big, just a little bit would be enough to experience a thrilling movie life. Yi Huanyan was not interested in going at first, but when she returned to the hotel and found out that Chen-Yin had brought Naneo to the casino, she hurriedly changed her clothes and called Su Nianhua to go out with her. Along the way, she scolded Chen-Yin, this unreliable person, countless times. On the other hand, in the casino, Chen-Yin watched the dealer shake the dice and gave Naneo, who was next to her, a look. Big, small. Many Chinese were keen to play this kind of thing with strong Chinese culture, so they kept betting on both big and small. Chen-Yin glanced at Naneo hesitantly. Naneo's eyes fell on the middle position. "Leopard!" Chen-Yin shouted and pushed all the chips in front of her. Everyone was a little stunned. Only the dealer's expression changed. "Open." It was indeed a leopard. Chen-Yin glanced at Naneo, squatted down and high-fived him. The two of them looked smug. After that, Chen-Yin won 10 rounds in a row until she lost interest in the dice game. Then she called the 2 waiters who were in charge of keeping the chips and followed her to the next table. They played poker, mahjong and paigao. With Naaneo's help, they almost never lost. Before they arrived at the casino, Yi Huanyan received a call. On the other end of the line, a rough and fierce man's voice spoke in dialect English. If Yi Huanyan had not improved her English by leaps and bounds in the past few years, she might not have understood. After hearing a few words, her face turned pale. "What's going on?" asked Su Nianhua, who was beside her. "He said that Xiao Wu and Naneo were detained by the casino's people. He wants me to pay $10 million to ransom them." "Why?" "Because he cheated." $10 million was not a lot to Yi Huanyan. She was worried about Chen Yin's temper. She might have already gotten into a fight and gotten injured. When Yi Huanyan and Su Nianhua arrived at the casino, it was very lively. They did not see Chen-Yin and Naaneo. "Where are my sister and my son?" Yi Huanyan ran to the front desk and asked. Not long after the person at the front desk made a call, a burly man walked out of the casino. He looked at Yi Huanyan and questioned, "You were the one who answered the phone just now." Are Chinyin and Gu Yao your sister and son? Yi Huanyan frowned. Where are they? Tell me what's going on. It's our problem. We'll give you the money to let them go. It's not our problem, so you have to let them go. Yi Huanyan tried to reason with them, but she neglected one point. Not everyone in this world liked to reason with you. Before she could finish her sentence, she even suspected that the burly man did not understand what she said. The burly man gave an order, and several men behind him rushed out and tied Yi Huanyan up. Su Nianhua rushed forward to help, but he was also tied up. The two of them were thrown into a private room. The temperature in the room was very low. Yi Huanyan was pushed to the sofa and sat down. Her whole body was cold, and she could not help but shiver. Chiu! Yi Huanyan sniffed and looked at the man who looked like a manager in front of her. She said unhappily, "What do you mean? This is illegal detention. If we call the police, your casino will not be able to continue operating. Do you know who I am?" The manager was Asian. He looked very polite and said seriously, "My surname is Wang. Miss Gu, right? The two people who cheated in our casino are very close to you. If they come back obediently, we will let them go." Chapter 392. Then let him go. Yi Huanyan frowned. He has nothing to do with this. Manager Wang glanced at Su Nianhua and nodded. You look familiar. Are you a mainland singer? Let him go, so he can help you find her. It was the middle of the night, and Yi Huanyan was worried about Chenyin running around with Naaneo and risking being chased by a large group of people. If anything happened, it would not be worth it. Manager Wang was silent for a few seconds, then nodded thoughtfully. He seemed to think that Yi Huanyan's words made sense, so he waved his hand and asked a burly man to untie Su Nianhua. When Su Nianhua left, Yi Huanyan lowered her voice and whispered in his ear, "Tell them to go back to the hotel, and don't worry about me." Su Nianhua turned to look at her in surprise, but under her warning gaze, he hurriedly lowered his head to hide his gaze. Not long after Su Nianhua left, Yi Huanyan looked at Manager Wang slyly. "Do you know what I just said in his ear?" Manager Wang frowned. "What? I told him to leave and not come back." "Impossible. This is a gambling city. Do you want to die? Maybe you don't want to live anymore. Didn't you want to know who I am? My ID card is in my bag. Check it and see who I am. I can guarantee that once you're done checking, you'll release me and treat me well." The Gu family's businesses were all over the top 4 gambling cities in the world. Even though this place did not have the Gu family's logo, they were all in the same industry. In the entire industry, no one dared to disrespect the second daughter of the Gu family. Manager Wang saw that this woman in front of him was arrogant, so he did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly asked his subordinates to check her ID card. After checking, he returned with a layer of cold sweat on his forehead. "Oh, it's the second daughter of the Gu family. Please forgive us." As he spoke, he personally untied the ropes on Yi Huanyan. Yi Huanyan brushed off the dust on her body and turned her wrist. "Then I'll be leaving. As for the $10 million you're talking about, I'll go home and ask my sister what's going on. If they really owe you money, I'll return it to you. I'll use the Gu family's reputation as a guarantee. Is that enough?" That's enough. Manager Wang nodded. Yi Huanyan snorted and turned to leave. She had only taken 2 steps when she was stopped by the dark-skinned man at the door. Manager Wang's trembling voice came from behind. Miss Gu, you can't leave." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's expression changed. She turned around and said unhappily, "What's going on? What do you mean?" "We didn't mean to offend you." Manager Wang's forehead was dripping with sweat. His voice was trembling as if he was the one trapped here. "It's just that our boss just said on the phone that please stay here for a while. As for the $10 million, we can forget about it." "Stay here for a while? What do you want?" Yi Huanyan's face darkened. Since she had already moved out of the Gu family's house, she had to act like a member of the Gu family. She could not bring shame to the Gu family. Manager Wang trembled in fear when she yelled at him. "Miss Gu, please don't be angry. Our boss Fu is friends with your brother. You can leave as soon as your brother arrives." "My brother?" Yi Huanyan thought hard. but could not think of anyone who was friends with Gu Xinian. Gu Xinian had friends all over the world and enemies all over the world. Yi Huanyan did not know who this boss Fu was, and whether he was a friend or a foe. Yi Huanyan started to regret revealing her identity so early. She was in a hurry to explain. My brother is traveling around the world with his fiancée. He has no idea what is going on here. You have to let me go. I'll try to contact him. Our boss said that he has his ways. Just stay here and don't worry. No matter what he said, it was not going to work. Manager Wang was used to kicking the ball around. In the end, he put all the blame on Boss Fu. I'm just a messenger. I don't have any authority. Miss Gu, please stay here for a while. No matter what you want, we'll find a way to get it for you, okay? As long as you don't leave this room. In the end, Yi Huanyan was at her wit's end. She sat down on the sofa and stared at Manager Wang. After a while, she blinked and shouted, I want to eat durian. 9 out of 10 people wouldn't be able to stand something like durian. Manager Wang's face turned green. Please eat first. I'm going out for a while. Stand there. Yi Huanyan glanced at her. I didn't ask you to leave. Didn't you say that I could do whatever I wanted as long as I didn't leave this room? Manager Wang wanted to cry but had no tears. She could only watch as Yi Huanyan ate a large piece of durian. The entire private room was filled with an unbearable stench. It was incomparably smelly. It was so smelly that she started to doubt her life. The casino outside the private room was still bustling with noise and excitement, but the faintly discernible stench gradually spread out. The guests near the private room began to voice their opinions to the casino staff, expressing their strong dissatisfaction. Ling Han picked up a handkerchief to cover his nose. He frowned and looked at the private room in the distance. He pulled a waiter aside and asked in a pure London accent, What's going on here? Is someone eating durian? The waiter looked troubled. He lowered his head and said, There's a guest in the private room who likes this. What kind of crazy guest is this? Gu Duo frowned and looked displeased. I'll go take a look. Hey, no, you can't go. Gu Duo glanced at Ling Han. He stood in front of the waiter. The waiter could not stop Gu Duo and watched her break into the private room. As soon as she opened the door, Gu Duo saw a familiar figure on the sofa. After seeing the table full of durians, she covered her nose and frowned. Who is it? Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Yi Huanyan didn't expect to meet Gu Duo here. What made her feel uneasy was that at this moment, where Gu Duo was, there must be another person not far away. Sure enough, the private room door opened for the second time. The figure who entered was tall and straight. He was not inferior to the group of big black men. Ling Han's expression changed when he saw Yi Huanyan. He opened his mouth, but did not say anything. Manager Wang frowned. Miss Gu, do you know these two people? Thinking of Gu Duo's identity and her current situation, Yi Huanyan did not want to complicate things. She just looked at them indifferently. I don't know them. Let them go. Ling Han's expression darkened when he heard the words I don't know them. According to Gu Duo's temper, she should have been more domineering. However, after she stared at the golden sun symbol on the sofa, her face suddenly turned pale and she blurted out, I don't know them. Then, without waiting for Manager Wang to chase them away, she dragged Ling Han out of the private room. Seeing Gu Duo and Ling Han's intimate gestures, Yi Huanyan's eyebrows twitched and she felt pain in her eyes. Chapter 393. After coming out of the private room, Gu Duo looked like she still had a lingering fear. She hurriedly pulled Ling Han out of the casino. Ling Han frowned when he saw her walking so fast in high heels. He vaguely realized that something was wrong here. Why are you running? He followed her and asked. She only said, This is not a good place to stay. He looked back at the sign of the casino and didn't move at all. Gu Duo ran to the street and suddenly found that there was no one behind her. She turned around and saw Ling Han still standing at the entrance of the casino. Her face changed immediately. She stomped her feet and walked back. What are you doing? Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to find Gu Huanyan? Hearing the name Yi Huanyan, Ling Han came back to his senses and said in a deep voice, I prefer you to call her Yi Huanyan. Gu Duo's eyes turned. What a coincidence. This is one of the few interests we have in common. What's wrong with this casino? Ling Han glanced at her and asked as he walked. Nothing. It's just that the boss behind this casino has some grudges with my brother. As my brother's sister, it's not appropriate for me to stay here. Hearing this, Ling Han's face changed. Hey, where are you going? As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and saw Ling Han turn back. Gu Duo looked at Ling Han's back and frowned. She shouted at his back. You have to come back to hold the wedding with me. I won't care if you are beaten to death. Ling Han acted as if he didn't hear the warning behind him. He went straight through the gate of the casino and walked towards the private room where Yi Huanyan was. Gu Duo was Gu Xinyan's sister, but Yi Huanyan was Gu Xinyan's real sister. If Gu Duo was not suitable, how could Yi Huanyan be suitable? Thinking of Yi Huanyan's abnormal state just now, Ling Han's heart suddenly became very anxious. In the private room, Yi Huanyan rubbed her stomach. She really couldn't eat anything. If Miss Gu is tired, we have a bed here. You can rest for a while. It's night now. Yi Huanyan impatiently glanced at that damned manager Wang. What do you mean? How long are you going to detain me? You even want me to spend the night here? Are you crazy? Do you believe that I will call the police? Manager Wang was all smiles. Miss Gu, if you want to call the police, you can do so at any time. We won't be able to stop you. But I'm afraid the police won't be able to enter this place. Our boss said that you're a VIP here. You can leave when your brother is here. I'm afraid that you won't be able to contact my brother at all. Don't worry about that. We've just received news that we've already contacted young Master Gu in Finland. He's currently on his private jet and should be able to arrive tomorrow. Wait, what kind of feud does my brother have with your boss? Yi Huanyan was puzzled. He had been entertaining her with good food and drinks. This was not considered a kidnapping, so he didn't give a reason to the police. But if it was not a kidnapping, why was he not letting her go? What was going on? Manager Wang lowered his head and stammered. Well, you'd better ask your brother when the time comes. Judging from his guilty look, it was obvious that he knew the inside story. Yi Huanyan deliberately put on a domineering look and asked forcefully, Hurry up and tell me. If you don't, I'll rush out. If you hurt me, all of you will be finished. Do you believe that? Miss Gu, don't make things difficult for us. Are you going to tell me or not? Yi Huanyan casually picked up a piece of durian skin and was about to scratch it on her arm. If you don't tell me, I'll make a move. If I hurt even a single hair on my body, my brother and my parents will cut you into pieces and throw you into the river to feed the tortoises. Do you believe me? She had never done anything scary in the past. She had learned this trick from Lingli, whom she had met for the first time. Lingli had used the lines to scare her back then. She could be considered to have learned and applied them. Don't. Manager Wang slapped his thigh and looked like he was forced to cry but had no tears. He began to talk about the love and hatred between their boss and Gu Xinyan. By the end of the story, his eyes were shining brightly. He could even discuss the details with Yi Huanyan. I've been here for more than 10 years. 10 years ago, our current boss was just the daughter of our big boss. She was engaged to the Gu family, which is your family. She was engaged to young Master Gu when she was a child. But I heard that young Master Gu broke off the engagement 10 years ago. The reason is unknown, but this incident directly led to a big conflict between our boss and the Gu family, which is your family. I know about this. 10 years ago, my brother just got married to my ex-sister-in-law. Yes, that's the matter. So later on, when the Gu family, which is your family, was at young Master Gu's wedding, my boss and young miss did not attend. My young miss drank at home and gambled in our casino for the entire night. Do you know how crazy my young miss was that night? She lost a lot. Yi Huanyan spat out the shell of a sunflower seed and asked in confusion. Manager Wang's eyes widened. He stretched out a hand and waved his 5 chubby fingers in front of Yi Huanyan. She won 50 million in one night. Didn't your ex-sister-in-law pass away later on? I don't know how my young miss heard about this matter. At that time, my young miss was in Macau. When she heard that young Master Gu had closed himself off from the public because of your ex-sister-in-law, she immediately flew back and directly moved to your house with her luggage. She stayed there for half a year. I know about this too. But do you know how your young miss got my brother to open the door? After Suku's child died, Gu Sinian closed the door to all guests for more than half a month. He did not eat or drink, and the two elders of the Gu family were at their wits' end. In the end, his fiancée moved into Nanyuan with her luggage. After she moved in, everything went on as usual. However, Gu Sinian began to eat, which was already a very gratifying thing for the two elders of the Gu family. This, Manager Wang scratched his head and lowered his voice. I heard that my young miss beat young Master Gu up and forced him to eat. Impossible. Yi Huanyan spat out another pile of sunflower seed shells and retorted with a dark expression. Do you think your young miss is Superman? My brother is 1.9 meters tall and has a 9th-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He has a revolver on the bedside table all year round. No one can get close to him within 2 meters. But at that time, young Master Gu hadn't eaten for half a month. He shouldn't have any physical strength, right? Manager Wang added hesitantly. And my young miss is also a 9th-degree black belt in Taekwondo. She is also our state Sanda champion. Although she doesn't carry a gun, she is the vice president of the North American Nunchaku Association. The implication was that as long as she took the nunchaku she carried with her and pointed it at young Master Gu's head, he would be more or less obedient. I still think it's impossible. This is definitely a rumor. Yi Huanyan covered her ears and looked like she didn't want to listen to Manager Wang's analysis. In her heart, Gu Xinyan's majesty was absolutely not to be challenged. No one was allowed to do so. While they were talking, the door of the private room was pushed open and two big men came in. One of them said in English, "Manager, something happened. Someone in the K of Hearts private room reported that someone was taking drugs. The police are here and are interrogating and searching." Chapter 394. Manager Wang's expression changed. The smile on his face that was originally with Yi Huanyan disappeared, without a trace in an instant. Let's go and take a look. Only the two big men guarding the door were left in the private room. Yi Huanyan was bored and paced around in front of the door, trying to attract the attention of the two big men. However, the two big men seemed to have received some orders from that damn Manager Wang. All of their attention was on the door, and they didn't pay her any attention. No matter whether she spoke in English or Chinese, they pretended not to understand. Just as she was lying on the sofa in frustration, the big black man suddenly picked up the walkie-talkie and mumbled something. He then said something to the other man, and hurriedly opened the door and left. There was only one person left at the door. Yi Huanyan leaned on the sofa and ate an apple, looking at the other big man as she ate. Why did this scene make her feel so unusual? Was it the 36 stratagems to lure the tiger away from the mountain? Just as her thoughts were running wild, the big man at the door suddenly picked up the walkie-talkie and slipped out of the room without saying anything. Yi Huanyan was stunned. She looked around and realized that no one cared about her anymore. She hesitantly stood up from the sofa and walked towards the door. After the closed door opened a crack, she could clearly see the chaotic casino. People in all kinds of uniforms came and went in a mess. Some were casino security guards, some were casino managers, some were police, and even the traffic police were in. What was going on? Yi Huanyan stood at the door in confusion. Let's go. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared beside her and grabbed her wrist. With lightning speed, he pulled her out of the casino and ran wildly on the streets of the Las Vegas casinos. She ran after him and looked at the broad back in front of her. Her panic gradually calmed down, and the corners of her mouth slightly curved up, revealing a brilliant smile. The streets and alleys were in chaos. They ran to the depths of a remote and quiet alley, where there was no one, and the lights were dim before they stopped. Yi Huanyan leaned against the wall and gasped, "Why are you back again?" Ling Han leaned against the wall opposite her, loosened his bow tie, and loosened the top two buttons of his shirt. His chest heaved. "I came back to save you." Yi Huanyan thought for a while, and guessed that it was Gu Duo who told him about the owner of the casino. No wonder Gu Duo ran out, as if she had seen a ghost. If the owner of this casino was really Gu Xinyan's ex-fiancé, then wasn't Gu Duo, the third party, who had been trying to trip them up, the person she hated the most? In any case, she was Gu Xinyan's biological sister. It was not a big deal for her to fall into her hands. However, if Gu Duo fell into her hands, it would be very different. Are you the one who caused all that mess outside? Yes. You're really capable. In the dim light, there was a teasing smile in her eyes. Although her appearance was different, even the tone of her voice were different, he could still find a trace of the past brilliant smile on this face that was very different from before. Where are you going now? Back to the hotel to look for Su Nianhua. When he heard the 3 words Su Nianhua, Ling Han's eyes sank a little. Without thinking, he asked, "Why are you looking for him?" Yi Huanyan looked calm and matter-of-factly. "I'm looking for him for something. I asked him to help me find Xiaowu and Naaneo. I can help you find them too." The lights in the alley were dim. There was a distance of half a meter between the two of them. They leaned against the wall on both sides and panted. After the intense exercise, it was difficult for them to calm down for a while. Therefore, after a conversation, the two of them did not move at all. Yi Huanyan was extremely tired. When she saw Ling Han, she could not help but think about Gu Duo. There must be a hidden reason why the two of them wanted to hold a wedding. However, for her, it was inevitable that she would be jealous at this moment when she saw how intimate Gu Duo was with him. Therefore, she could mention Su Nianhua. "Aren't you busy with the wedding? You still have to accompany your fiancé. How can you have time to care about my affairs?" Ugh. Before she finished speaking, a huge shadow fell in front of her and pressed her shoulders against the wall. The rest of her words were sealed in her throat. There was a faint smell of tobacco on her lips. It was his dissatisfaction, his anger, his reluctance to part, and his lingering sorrow. This lingering kiss made her unable to extricate herself. For a moment, it was difficult for her to control her emotions. Her body could not help but burn. At first, there were traces of resistance, but not long after, it became a response. Unable to control herself, she could not help but respond. Separated by a thin layer of floral chiffon, she could feel his large hands caressing her wantonly. The bow on her chest fell apart, her collar was wide open, and half of her top slipped to the crook of her arm. The black lace bra instantly hung up to her neck as he rubbed, revealing 2 lumps of softness in the air. A pair of hands gathered them together with a trace of coldness in the night. His slender fingers rubbed at the budding parts. That coldness made Yi Huanyan shiver. She only felt as if all the blood vessels in her body had been opened. She could not help but cry out in alarm. The entire alley echoed with her delicate gasps. She suddenly covered her mouth. Her blurred eyes struggled to squeeze out a bit of anger as she looked at the person in front of her. His movements did not stop. He buried his head in her neck and kissed her wantonly. The movements of his hands became more and more rhythmic. She gasped again and again, and the 2 red beans in front of her chest stood upright. He became more and more daring. One of his hands slid to the bottom of her thigh and reached into the cream-colored short skirt. It slid along the edge of the lace underwear. Separated by a thin layer of silk, he pressed down on her private area. Yi Huanyan clenched her teeth and tried to turn her head, but she could not stop the moans from coming out of her throat. The numbness throughout her body caused her to completely lose her rationality. In her blurred state of mind, she felt a touch coming from the lower part of her body. That layer of cloth was the last barrier between the two of them, and under his touch, it instantly disappeared. With skin-to-skin contact, she could clearly feel his fingertips sliding around her private area. Every touch brought about a tremor of extreme pleasure. She shivered and pulled his collar tighter, but the back of her head was firmly pressed against the wall, unwilling to let go. "Yan, do you want it?" He found her lips. In between kisses, he panted heavily and asked in a deep and blurred voice. The voice of a patrol officer came from the alley. It was a string of fluent English. "Did you find them?" "2 people, they went that way." Yi Huanyan's body stiffened. She pushed against his chest with all her might, but her body was limp and weak. It was no different from hitting a rock with an egg. He sealed her lips and could not make a single sound. Below her, he did not hesitate to advance. His fingers slid smoothly into her body without any resistance. In the moment he twitched, she let out a cry in the endless kisses. Mm. Her face was like a peach blossom. Chapter 395. In the darkness, a group of patrolling police officers quickly ran past the entrance of the alley, but no one noticed the strange movement in the depths of the alley. Yi Huanyan didn't even dare to breathe loudly. She gritted her teeth and endured the pleasure brought by the impact on her body. The feeling of forbearance and passion spread all over her body, penetrating into every pore, making her tremble and resonate. His movements became faster and faster, and she raised her head to look at the night sky above the alley. Her eyes were blurred, and she was brought to the peak of pleasure by him. With her clothes in a mess, Yi Huanyan's private parts were all exposed to the air. Her snow-white body was plated with a layer of bright light under the moonlight, and at this moment, all of her shyness had been burned away by the passion, leaving only infinite attachment. He turned her by the shoulders and lifted her waist, so that she was arching her back to him. The belt made a crisp sound in the air, and the scalding heat pressed against her thighs. Her hands were on the wall, and her face was crimson. She had not recovered from the extreme pleasure just now, and at this moment, she was panting heavily. Her twin peaks were trembling in the air, as if they were about to fall. His low and hoarse voice sounded in her ears. Yin Yen, call my name. Han. Ah. N. Ah. The skin behind her collided, and it was as if the endless emptiness in her body was filled. Her hands that were supporting herself on the wall kept trembling, and her teeth were biting on her lips. Along with his fast rhythm, her whole body trembled crazily, and her mouth made intermittent moans. She was extremely charming and flirtatious. She didn't know how long it lasted, but it seemed like he couldn't be satisfied with this position. When her legs were about to go limp, he hugged her and pressed her against the wall to do it again. The moonlight poured down in torrents, and the passion was uncontrollable. In the end, she collapsed in his arms, burying her head in his chest and pushed, panting. Let me go, I don't have any strength left. Only then did he unwillingly stop. This was the first time she had made love with him since she admitted her identity. To him, it was a confirmation. He was afraid that this was a dream, so he held her tightly and refused to let go. A cell phone rang in the alley. Yi Huanyan hurriedly put on her clothes, then bent over to pick up the bag that had long been thrown on the ground. She took out her cell phone, and a familiar voice came from the other end. Yen Yen, Chinyin and Naaneo have been taken away by them. Hearing this, her face turned pale. I'll be right there. Ling Han grabbed her wrist. I'll go with you. Yi Huanyan frowned, turned around and brushed his hand away. It's okay, I can go by myself. The boss of the casino just has a little conflict with my brother. He won't do anything to me. It's not good for you to go. Those patrol officers are probably looking for you. Solve it as soon as possible. There was still a strange flush on her face after the pleasure, which made people yearn for her. When she ran to the entrance of the alley, Ling Han suddenly said anxiously, I'll explain to you about the wedding another day. I won't do anything to let you down. Yi Huanyan stood at the entrance of the alley, turning back to look at the figure in the dark, who could no longer be seen clearly. The corners of her mouth turned up, revealing a dazzling smile. I know. When Yi Huanyan arrived at the casino's private room, the room was in a mess. Only Chen Yin's arrogant voice could be heard in the room. Let me go if you have the guts. I'll fight you one-on-one. I'll beat you until your mother can't recognize you. Yi Huanyan pushed open the door. As soon as she entered, Naaneo called out Mommy, and rushed over without any explanation. His face was covered in dirt, and he looked like a little beggar by the roadside. Yi Huanyan's heart ached when she saw this. Chen Yin was handcuffed to the bedpost. As soon as she saw her, she shouted, Older sister Yin Yen, hurry and leave. Hurry and find him. Yi Huanyan was in a daze when a familiar voice sounded. Miss Gu, you're finally back. Manager Wang held a handkerchief in one hand and covered his right eye as he walked to the door. Yi Huanyan's expression immediately turned cold. She said sternly. What's going on? Didn't you say that you would treat them well and not make things difficult for them? Who told you to arrest them? Manager Wang covered his eyes and said helplessly. It really wasn't us who caught them. They sent themselves to our door. The moment they arrived at our casino, they didn't say anything and started to destroy the place. Our people outside didn't know what was going on and started to fight. I rushed out immediately, and at least I managed to protect your young master. As for that lady, we didn't dare to do anything to her. Besides, look, the ones who were at a disadvantage are our people. As he spoke, Manager Wang removed the handkerchief from his eye, revealing a bruised eye. It was a terrifying sight. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. After a long explanation, she finally understood the cause and effect of the situation. After Su Nianhua left, he called Chen Yin. Unfortunately, Chen Yin's phone was about to run out of battery. She heard the words "they have detained Yin Yan," and her phone automatically turned off. Chen Yin was an impatient person and immediately rushed back to the casino. In the end, she arrived at the same time as the police were investigating for drug use. The scene became extremely chaotic. In the end, it was Manager Wang who acted as a guarantor and did not allow the police to take Chen Yin away. Instead, he let them deal with it themselves. With Chen Yin's violent temper, she had never heard a word from Manager Wang. Manager Wang kindly wanted to explain to her, but she punched his eye until it was swollen. At this point, he could only wait for Yi Huanyan to return. After the handcuffs were unlocked, Chen Yin moved her wrists and looked completely unguilty. She glared angrily at Manager Wang. You deserve it. How can you blame me for your eye being swollen? Who asked you to accuse me of cheating in the beginning and then detain my sister? You're a black-hearted casino. Don't you know what kind of background my sister has? Yes. It's not your fault. I didn't explain clearly. Manager Wang took a big step back, as if he was afraid that Chen Yin would hit him again. He looked like a yes man. Then what happened to Naoneo's face? Yi Huanyan looked at her pink son's face and was naturally very unhappy. Speaking of this, Naoneo nestled in Yi Huanyan's arms and looked faintly at Chen Yin. Chen Yin coughed dryly and said resentfully, the streets were full of police. I thought they were going to arrest us, so I had to disguise Naoneo and smear a handful of dust on him. Yi Huanyan could not help but roll her eyes at her. Then what about the cheating incident? If she had not accused him of cheating in the beginning, there would not have been such a mess later on. Speaking of this, Chen Yin glared at Manager Wang angrily. This damn fatty, you insist that I'm cheating. If I win money, then I'm cheating. If I lose money, then I'm unlucky. Why is your casino so good at making money? Manager Wang was physically and mentally exhausted. His face was bitter, and he looked like he was about to cry. I didn't say that. Our Zhuang family said it. Miss Chen has won too many rounds. The Zhuang family is an expert here. How can we not believe his words? At first, we just wanted Miss Chen to cooperate with our investigation. We didn't expect that there would be a misunderstanding. Chapter 396. Yi Huanyan didn't know how good Chen Yin's gambling luck was. It wasn't like she hadn't cheated before. It was indeed unbelievable that she had won more than 10 million yuan in one night. However, she looked as if she had been wronged. She was afraid that there was more to this matter than met the eye. Why don't you call your dealer over to confront us? Yi Huanyan suggested. Manager Wang looked worried. The dealer was taken away by the police during the chaos. We're trying to find a way to get him out now. See? Chen Yin interrupted Manager Wang with a smug look on her face. I told you that there was something wrong with this black-hearted casino. You even gathered people to take drugs. It's most likely a sham. Otherwise, why didn't the police arrest other casinos? The drugs were found to be brought in by the guests themselves. It has nothing to do with our casino. Miss Chen, you can't say that. We're still investigating this matter. We suspect that it was set up by our colleagues. Come on. That's enough. Stop it. Chen Yin wanted to say something else, but Yi Huanyan stopped her. This matter most likely had something to do with Ling Han, so it was better not to be so overbearing here. Manager Wang still had to clean up the mess. Before he left, he looked at Chen worriedly. It was as if he was looking at a ticking time bomb. His eyes were full of worry. Yi Huanyan understood and comforted him. Go ahead. We'll stay here and not go anywhere. Is that okay? Thank you, Miss Gu. You're so kind. You're such a good person. After a long string of flattering words, Yi Huanyan became impatient. She waved her hand and signaled for Chen to chase him out. In the private room, Yi Huanyan called Su Nianhua to reassure him. Then she led Naaneo to wash his face. When it was time for him to sleep, she coaxed him to sleep on the bed in the private room. He was heartless and quickly fell asleep. Yi Huanyan quietly got out of bed and walked into the living room. She saw Chen sitting on the sofa and yawning. Go in and sleep for a while if you're sleepy. Hearing this, Chen turned her head and waved her hand. No, who knows what's going on in this casino? What if that fatty is lying? I want to keep watch. Then eat something. What if it's poisonous? Yi Huanyan rolled her eyes. Then I would have been poisoned to death long ago. These people in front of you. I tested the poison with my own body. Chen was stunned for a few seconds, and her shoulders slumped. She took 2 apples, one on the left and one on the right, and wolfed them down. She almost burst into tears. Sister, you should have told me earlier. I'm starving. I bought 2 burgers on the way here. One was eaten by now, and the other one fell on the ground and was trampled into pieces by the patrol officers. At this time, on the private jet high in the sky, a man and a woman sat on the long sofa on both sides of the spacious aisle. The atmosphere was very tense. The man's cold face was not dignified at all, and there was a trace of resentment in his eyes. Xiaoyu, there's really nothing between me and her. If Yin wasn't in her hands, I wouldn't have gotten on the plane at all. Ji Xiaoya rolled her eyes. She snorted coldly and said angrily, You told me that you were going to the bathroom. If I hadn't followed you, how would I have known that you took a car to the suburbs and even got on the plane? If you're not guilty, why did you hide it from me? You even planned to leave me alone in Finland. It's not safe for you to follow me. I'm going. Ji Xiaoya raised her chin and looked determined. I'm going to see what your amazing ex-fiancé is capable of. Does she have 3 heads and 6 arms, and can ride a flaming wheel? How dare she kidnap my best friend? She really doesn't know what's good for her. Gu Xinyan's eyes showed a trace of worry. He said seriously, Xiaoyu, it's not a problem for you to follow me, but I'll say this first. Don't show your face when the time comes. Just stay in the hotel. I'm going to save my best friend. What does that have to do with you? Xiaoyu. Gu Xinyan frowned. This is not the time to throw a tantrum. You don't know, but she's not someone to be trifled with. So I'm someone to be trifled with. Ji Xiaoya's expression changed instantly. She thought of all the things that had happened in the past. She immediately felt a lump in her throat, and tears welled up in her eyes. Trifled with? You've already trifled with so many women. Do you think I'm the one to be trifled with? At this moment, the stewardess happened to come over to deliver food. She looked at Gu Xinyan sympathetically. Gu Xinyan held his forehead, and there was a hint of hopelessness in his eyes. This was already the umpteenth time they had traveled around the world. Ever since he proposed, Ji Xiaoya's temper had become more unpredictable. Why didn't he notice her ability to change her expression in a second? Women were really different before and after marriage. The next morning, Gu Xinyan and Ji Xiaoya's private jet landed in Las Vegas. After they got off the plane, they were sent to the casino. An hour before their plane landed in Las Vegas, a sign was hung at the entrance of the casino, saying that it was closed for the day. An extended Bentley stopped at the entrance of the casino. A woman in a beige mini skirt got out of the car. She was wearing a pair of limited edition Prada shoes. Under the pumpkin-colored beret was a head of wavy chestnut brown hair that casually draped over her shoulders. She looked very feminine and elegant. However, this elegance was not to be underestimated. Manager Wang was already waiting at the entrance with the casino staff. There was a red carpet on the ground that led to the entrance of the casino. Boss. The woman glanced at him. When she saw the bruise on his eye, her eyes darkened. What happened? Did someone cause trouble at the casino recently? Her voice was clear and melodious, like the sound of spring water flowing in the empty mountains after the rain. Manager Wang lowered his head. It's nothing serious. Last night, I had a conflict with the second daughter of the Gu family. Hearing this, the woman snorted and said meaningfully, I will help you get the medical fees back from Gu Xinian. Manager Wang smiled bitterly and did not dare to reply. Where is the second daughter? She asked again. She is in the private room. She should not be awake yet. I see. I wanted to see her first. After all, her name is a little similar to a friend of mine. But forget it. The same name does not mean that they are the same kind of people. When she said this, there was a hint of contempt in the woman's eyes. After saying this, the woman walked towards the entrance of the casino in her high heels. The elevator went straight to the 6th floor. That was her private apartment. Before she got into the elevator, she turned around and looked at the cold casino. She frowned and said, You don't have to specially close the door. Open as usual today. Manager Wang hurriedly nodded in agreement. After he sent the boss off, he turned around and saw the door of the private room open. Chen Yin was standing at the door, looking at him with a frown. Why are you all standing at the elevator door? Her voice made Manager Wang shudder. He immediately shivered, and the fat on his body shook. After a while, he calmed down and said hesitantly, Miss Chen, do you have any orders? I'm hungry. Get me something to eat. Chapter 397. When Yi Huanyan woke up, Manager Wang had already brought someone to deliver an exquisite breakfast. After Chen Yin ate 2 steamed buns, she went to the bedroom and dragged Naaneo out, forcing him to wash up and eat breakfast. Naaneo, who was originally a spoiled brat, gave in to Chen Yin, who was a violent person. Yi Huanyan took a sip of coffee, looked at Manager Wang, and asked, You just said that my brother is already here? Why didn't he come to see me? He just arrived. You haven't woken up yet, so he didn't want to disturb you. Right now, your brother is upstairs in our boss's private apartment, discussing something with our boss. Your boss's private apartment? Yi Huanyan's face darkened. What does your boss look like? Her figure is not bad, Chen Yin said in a hurry, then hurriedly drank the preserved egg and lean meat porridge. You've seen her? Yi Huanyan looked at her in surprise. When I went out just now, I saw a figure at the entrance of the elevator. Judging from her figure, she is about the same as Sister Xiaoya. But in terms of height, the boss is obviously taller, so the possibility of rekindling old feelings is actually quite high. Really? A layer of worry appeared in Yi Huanyan's eyes. What if he's not good-looking? If she was really a peerless beauty, why didn't she win over Gu Xinian after pursuing him for 10 years? Chen Yin pondered for a few seconds, then shook her head. I just saw her side profile, and I think she's quite good-looking. Why don't you take a picture? Don't you know what our boss looks like? Manager Wang's weak voice came from the side. The two of them looked at Manager Wang at the same time and said in unison, Of course. It's on Baidu. Manager Wang was frightened, and his face turned pale. Our boss is the daughter of the gambling king. 5 years ago, the gambling king passed away and officially inherited all the family business. She started to officially attend all kinds of events, so there are photos of her on the internet now. The gambling king Fu Guoqiang? Yi Huanyan asked with wide eyes. Manager Wang nodded. Naaneo, who was drinking milk with his head lowered, put down his cup and silently typed a search term on his tablet. Gambling King's daughter, which instantly appeared on Baidu Baiki. After a quick glance, he said seriously, If we're comparing looks, Godmother definitely has no chance. Yi Huanyan and Chen Yin both turned to look at Naaneo in surprise. Chen Yin snatched the tablet from him. Let me see what kind of monster it is. After snatching the tablet, Chen Yin's face paled. Yi Huanyan saw that Chen Yin's expression was not right. She became more and more confused and teased. What's wrong? Was he really a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms? Or is it that the fairy has stunned you? Chen Yin's face paled as she stared blankly at the photo on the tablet. She blinked several times, then hesitantly turned the photo on the tablet in Yi Huanyan's direction. This person is Sister 4? The person in the photo was none other than Fu Yingxiang. In the apartment on the 6th floor of the casino, a waiter in a red vest led Gu Xinian upstairs and quietly pushed him back down. The door was not closed, and there was a faint orchid fragrance inside. Gu Xinian took a deep breath, pushed open the door and walked in. Xiaoying, close the door. A clear voice came from the room. It came from the tea table in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The faintly discernible orchid fragrance was coming from this direction. A woman in plain clothes was sitting in front of the table brewing tea. Gu Xinian frowned and closed the door. Xiaoying, do you know who you've detained? Your sister. I know. The one I've been looking for several years. Then do you know who my sister is? I'm not interested in that. Sit down first. You've been hiding from me all these years. It's not easy to find a chance to force you out. I just want to talk to you about the matter between us. She poured tea and put the cup on the opposite side of the table with her slender fingers, indicating that he should sit down. Gu Xinian had to unbutton his suit and sit opposite her. I heard that you got married again? Yes. The editor-in-chief of Fengshang magazine? Yes. I thought that you would stay by Ku's side for the rest of your life. I didn't expect that both Gu Duo and I were wrong. Some people's hearts were not dead and would never love again. They just didn't love you anymore. Before I met her, I also thought that I would stay by Ku's side for the rest of my life. That sounds ironic. Can she accept it? Who are you asking about her? Your current wife or your sister in the past? This is my own business. It has nothing to do with her. Then what about our business? Fu Yingxiang's expression changed slightly. She looked at him seriously. Don't you think that you owe me an explanation? I'm sorry. Gu Xinian frowned. I'm very sorry about what happened between us. But you have to let Yin Yin and her friend go. You said that you won't let me have anything against you in this life. If you do, you have to agree to my request. So do you think I'll let them go? It's been so many years. You still remember? A bitter smile appeared on Gu Xinian's lips. Fu Yingxiang blinked and put down the teacup. Her expression was indifferent. How could I not remember? This was the only hope you gave me 10 years ago. I think you should have gotten back the evidence you left in Gu Duo's hands. But what about me? Are you surprised? You're my biological sister and nephew. In exchange for a request of mine, you won't lose out. Gu Xinian exhaled slowly. I'm afraid I can't agree to your request. This information isn't mine. At most it's my weakness. But this weakness is also yours. What do you mean? I don't think I've ever told you who was the one who delivered your address to Gu Qi in prison number 4. Gu Xinian curled his lips into a sly smile. My sister's surname used to be Yi. Fu Yingxiang's face turned pale. What did you say? At this moment there was a knock on the door. Fu Yingxiang asked unhappily. What's the matter? Manager Wang's voice came from the door. Boss, Miss Gu is downstairs asking to see you. Miss Chun, who's with her, also wants to see you. She said that she knew you before. You see. Gu Xinian picked up his teacup, took a sip of tea and said faintly, that Miss Chun is called Chin Yin. Before Yi Huanyan went, she was ranked 5th in prison number 4. Everyone called her Little Five. Fu Yingxiang's expression froze. She stared at Gu Xinian, as if she had eaten a fly. All of her reserved calmness was gone. She frowned and her voice deepened. Why didn't you say so earlier? Gu Xinian raised his eyebrows. At this moment, he had already returned to his calm and collected appearance. I wanted to, but you didn't seem to give me the chance. Ever since he was informed that Yi Huanyan was detained in the casino, he had been unable to contact her. And the person she sent to pick him up said that he had arrived in Las Vegas. Naturally, there was plenty of time to communicate. Looking at Fu Yingxiang's pale face, Gu Xinian's eyes revealed an indescribable sense of pleasure. This was called going for wool and coming home shorn. Chapter 398. While Manager Wang was speaking, Gu Xinian had already opened the door and walked out. Young Master Gu. He bowed his head respectfully. Gu Xinian turned around and glanced at him. Your boss wants to be alone. Don't bother her. Take me to see my sister. A trace of astonishment appeared in Manager Wang's eyes. The boss in the room did not make any sound. For a moment, he even suspected that young Master Gu had killed his boss. Seeing him standing motionless at the door, Gu Xinian frowned. He turned around and knocked on the door. Xiaoying, say something. After a long while, a cold voice rang out in the room. It was very concise and to the point. Take him there. Manager Wang trembled in fear and quickly nodded. Yes. Yi Huanyan had been waiting downstairs for a while. Manager Wang did not come down for a long time. If it were not for the two burly men guarding the elevator, she would have dragged Chen Yin and rushed in. Hey, what's wrong with you two? Don't you understand Chinese? Your boss is my fourth sister. Do you understand? Chen Yin waved her fist in front of a dark-skinned man who was 2 heads taller than her. He did not even bat an eyelid. After all, knowing that this was Fu Yingxiang's place, the two of them were too embarrassed to fight. Instead, they were afraid of the slightest thing. The elevator slowly descended. After the door opened with a ding, Gu Xinian walked out with Manager Wang behind him. There was no need for Manager Wang to take him there. Yi Huanyan was standing at the elevator entrance waiting for him. When she saw Gu Xinian, Yi Huanyan quickly looked behind him. Brother, where's sistering? Gu Xinian raised his eyebrows. She said she brought you a gift, so she'll come down later. She knows it's me. Yi Huanyan widened her eyes. Then why? I want to play a joke with you. Gu Xinian's lips curved into a teasing smile. They had lunch at the casino restaurant. Yi Huanyan and Chen Yin were lucky enough to see Fu Yingxiang before lunch. They were led by Manager Wang to her apartment. When she saw Yi Huanyan, Fu Yingxiang was stunned. Even though Gu Xinian had told her that Yi Huanyan had undergone plastic surgery, she was still shocked by such a drastic change. Chen Yin was so excited that she pounced on her and gave her a hug. Fourth elder sister, you haven't contacted us all these years. If we didn't come here, would we have never seen you again? Fu Yingxiang explained. After I was released from prison, I spent the first 2 years dealing with my father's funeral. There were many things going on at home, and I had enemies chasing after me. How would I dare to look for you? Any random person would become her weakness. That year, when Gu Qi heard from Yi Huanyan that Fu Yingxiang was in prison number 4, he brought her out of prison as quickly as possible and sent her back to Las Vegas. The members of the Fu family were waiting for her in Las Vegas to take charge of the situation. She had inherited the family business, but she still did not dare to appear in public. There were many people under her father's command who wanted to kill her and usurp the throne. They gradually eliminated some of them and waited for 2 years before officially announcing that she had inherited the family business. Have a seat. Fu Yingxiang was at a loss of what to do. After all, the person who had been captured was her savior and a good friend of hers. She had always felt guilty towards Yi Huanyan because of this. So you are the daughter of the gambling king. No wonder big sister always told me not to worry about you. Chen Yin said a lot of things, and the atmosphere was much more relaxed than it was at the beginning. Actually, from the moment they entered the room, Yi Huanyan could tell that Fu Yingxiang had misunderstood this matter from the uneasy expression on her face. She probably did not know that she had been arrested. Gu Xinian's words just now were just a cover for her. After chatting for a while, Fu Yingxiang unhappily called Manager Wang over when the matter of cheating at the casino was brought up. Go and ask Li Side to come back. Tell him what happened last night. Was he the one who cheated, or was it someone else? How can you believe someone like him? Manager Wang was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. He quickly apologized. I'll go now. Chen Yin immediately jumped up from the sofa. I'll go with you. With that said, she followed Manager Wang out of the apartment. Only Yi Huanyan and Fu Yingxiang were left in the room. They sat opposite each other for a long time. The tea in front of them was a little cold. Fu Yingxiang's voice was a little dry, and she looked very embarrassed. Yin Yin, I'm sorry. If I knew it was you, I wouldn't. There's nothing to be sorry about. Your subordinates are actually quite good to us. Yi Huanyan shrugged indifferently. What I'm more curious about is that when you told me in prison that you had a fiancé, if this person was not Gucci, then you were actually talking about my brother, right? Speaking of this, Fu Yingxiang's face turned red. What fiancé? It was just my wishful thinking. You and my brother. Let's not talk about him. I've already given up on him. Fu Yingxiang suddenly raised her head and held her hand. Let's just say that we're not fated to be together. I didn't do what I did this morning, so I owe you another one. Seeing that she was so serious, Yi Huanyan felt embarrassed. We're sisters, what's the point of owing each other a favor? That's another matter. Yi Huanyan frowned. After thinking for a few seconds, she sat up straight and said, How about this? I'll ask you a question. It's a question that has been bothering me for a long time. If you tell me, then we'll be even, okay? Fu Yingxiang nodded solemnly. Ask away. About 10 years ago, when my ex-sister-in-law and my brother's child had just died, my brother didn't eat or drink at home, right? What method did you use to make him start eating? Hearing this, Fu Yingxiang's face stiffened, and she said embarrassedly, Why do you ask this question? Manager Wang insisted that you beat my brother to the ground, and then used nunchucks to strangle his neck to force him to eat. I don't think that's possible. Little Wang. Fu Yingxiang gritted her teeth when she said these two words. A certain manager on duty downstairs sneezed several times at this time, and his eyelids twitched. I bet 1,000 yuan with him. And your answer is related to my money. Fu Yingxiang's face stiffened, as if she had been silently preparing in her heart for a long time. Then she took a deep breath and asked, Do you really want to know? Of course, how could it be fake? Okay. She slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, trying to make her tone calm, as if nothing had happened, but her voice was still a bit lower. In fact, it's nothing. At that time, he was lying in the room half dead, and I injected him with nutrient solution for several days. He refused to eat, so I gave him injections. His hands and feet were full of needle holes. Later, he couldn't take it anymore, so he could only eat. That's it. Fu Yingxiang lowered her head and stammered. Also, I told him that if he didn't eat, I would give him an injection of aphrodisiac. Yi Huanyan held back for a while, then suddenly burst out laughing. She laughed until tears came out. The truth of the aphrodisiac was really shocking. It was unbelievable that Fu Yingxiang, who usually looked very classical, had such a passionate and unrestrained side. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.